much that
I am sitting here laughing and sneezing at the same time. I am so allergic to stupidity, so I don't know what to do. So forgive me because I'm literally dying here. My eyes are watering, and I don't know if I'm just because I'm laughing so hard, or that again my allergies are kicking up because this concentrated amount of stupidity. It's oh my fucking god! Damn.
Did you see?
Now,
at the end there, when I was like engaging with his model and Gman, and the rest were like, I don't know what he's talking about. And then I used that opportunity to be like, yeah, that's how dumb you are. that I'm actually interacting with it and he's not. It's just.
I have no words. I mean, this is gonna be the most boring hangout ever because I have no words to describe the dumb fuckery that was over there. Let me start from some basic stuff. Mr. Intelligent Design Edgar, we're not doxing him. He says call him Edgar. Has been in our hangouts numerous times. So anybody who's watching Gman who doesn't know who Edgar is, we do. And I have tried to understand what Edgar's saying. It's not a language barrier. Edgar is fundamentally flawed. He claims to be a civil engineer, and then says he's never taken a physics course in his life. He doesn't know simple mathematics. He doesn't know simple concepts. He's never even heard of Pythagoras theorem, and he claims he's a civil engineer. So let's get into proportionalities here of people being dumb fuck of what a dumb fuck is, right? Mr. Intelligent is a nice guy, but he's just delusional. He's simply delusional. He has these images of himself of grandeur that don't exist because he doesn't understand anything. And so he goes over to Gman's hangout, and these guys are treating him like the second coming of Christ. Oh, you got to listen to this guy. Oh, he's so great. What was that Tony was saying about him? Oh, yeah, he's just a wonderful Christian that's like really great on science.
Yeah. I'll read it out. Let me read it out. So Antonio Fletcher. Sup, True? Hey, True. This amazing gentleman by the name of Mr. Intelligent Design has wanted to get in contact with you. I think he has some awesome stuff you'll want to know. G-Man, can Mr. Intelligent Design join? He's a Christian and an awesome gentleman. So then Mr. Intelligent Design joins the group chat. Then True and Prism's like, may start a hangout to talk to him in a bit. Hi. Hi, Mr. Intelligent Design.
By the way.
But the way he spells hi is H-I-G-H.
And they're higher than Tyler is right now. Tyler Turden is baked.
Steve,
he is baked right now, I'm telling you.
Steve, you know what's really funny about that word? Not only did he misspell it, but it's true because Mr. Intelligent Design is high.
He's high as fuck. And even he's not smoking anything. I mean, oh my God. We'll wait for people to get in here. You guys want to know what Mr. Intelligent Design's tried to explain? I will explain to you what his argument is. I know it well enough because I've talked to him numerous times. I'm the one that brought him into this community. Sorry, guys, but my bad. But he's a nice guy, and I've invited him in here. But I do know what he's trying to get across. So I'll wait till we get some people listening to explain what his argument is. But it's funny is Gman at least admitted, yeah, I'm lost. I don't know what the hell is going on. But Ronnie's like, oh, no, I totally get this. No, Ronnie, you don't. You have no fucking idea what the hell Mr. Intelligent Design was saying. You just don't. And what's funny is when you had asked him, can you repeat back to me what he just said? Or what, his point is? I read back and I listened to that again, and I will do so again. I'll make a video about it if I can. What Mr. Intelligent Design was saying was nothing that what Ronnie said. Ronnie somehow took what he was talking about different amounts of problems and claims to mean, oh, evolution can't change things. What?
Yeah. I don't even know. Yes, when I asked him that question, I was like, can you repeat what he's saying? Mr. Intelligent Design was speaking about intelligence involving his experiment, which he was going to get to, and that's what he did.
He says, Tyler Durden said, with that last thing out, your victory is fucking complete. Yeah, oh yeah, my victory is complete. I mean, if people cannot see the dumb fuckery over these guys now, I don't know what else we can do. But I will explain to you guys Mr. Intelligent's viewpoint here. What's going on here? Okay, so Mr. Intelligent has an experiment where he takes a machine and he drops an egg. And he'll put a piece of tissue paper in it. And the egg falls through the tissue paper and cracks. Okay, so he puts another piece of tissue paper in it. Same thing happens. Finally, he gets to the point where he puts enough tissue paper in that it doesn't crack anymore. He said it was like 9 sheets or something. At that point, he's demonstrated intelligence because he was intelligent enough to put another sheet on there to solve the problem. Now that
I've officially given up trying to talk to him.
Now that he's solved, you missed it. So I'm explaining to you Mr. Intelligence ID's experiment because I do know it really well.
Yeah, isn't it just an experiment that shows that fucking light helps plants? Like,
no, not that one. His egg experiment.
No, this is the experiment with the
tissues.
tissue.
I don't get that at all. That was confusing.
This is his experiment. This is the way again. I brought Mr. Intelligent Design in the community. He's been in my hangouts numerous times, so I've listened to him and I've got to the bottom of what he's trying to say. He did an experiment where he takes a machine, he drops an egg through a tissue paper, and each time it breaks. So he keeps adding new tissue papers to the point where the egg doesn't break anymore, thus demonstrating intelligence, because he's an intelligent designer that has designed this experiment to solve a problem. Okay, so he's simply demonstrating that he's intelligent enough to solve a problem, and somehow he extrapolates that to meaning intelligent design is demonstrated. There you go.
By the way, Steve, I can't help but I burst out laughing just then. The title, "The amount of stupidity with the Clown Car Posse has reached critical mass."
I mean, Ronnie and the like, oh yeah, let's listen to this. This is great. This is great. And then finally, Gman's like, what the fuck is he talking about? Because I'm talking to General the entire time. I'm like, Jim, watch this. They're all going to agree with him. All going to agree with him. I was wrong. Gman didn't agree with him. He claimed he was.
G-Man didn't disagree with him.
He didn't disagree with him.
No, he didn't disagree. He just didn't understand. No, here's the point.
What you didn't see was in the side chat where G-Man apologized for interrupting me because I was trying to ask Mr. Intelligent Design some questions just about his conclusion premise situation and the Radish thing. Where
I know that one too.
I stayed afterwards and talked to him. I want to tell you about this conversation.
Okay. You want to know about the experiment first, though?
Well, I mean, God damn it. The experiment is just you put a radish in the dark and you put a radish in the light. And one of them grew better.
Yeah, but no, the experiment was that since the radish couldn't get up and walk away, it died. Therefore, no evolution.
That's stupid. Anyway, so I think that he was trying to conclude that since the radish was growing in a way that was trying to find light, that it was intelligently designed.
No. That's not what his experiment
was. He was trying to say that there was a defense mechanism in the plant, that it was like trying to find light and it was trying to solve the problem, but then it died.
Because it couldn't move.
Right. So, but therefore it's intelligent. But he put a radish in the dark and put a radish in light, observed growth patterns, and then said life is intelligently designed. And I asked him, well, how do you get there? And he says, well, because the plant has a defense mechanism. Like, no, you list that life is intelligent as your first premise. So, or your first conclusion. But there's no premises behind it.
It's circular.
That. How did you get there? He says, well, I already knew it was intelligent. But then it's not a conclusion to the experiment then.
It's circular. And well, and here's what I was saying in the live feed, but I don't know if you guys read it.
It was really frustrating.
In order for, even in his experiment, he has probabilities greater than 1. Which anybody who's ever taken statistics know you cannot have probabilities greater than 1. It doesn't make any sense. You have either a certainty or you have somewhere between 0 and 1, right? Or you have 0 too, 0% chance, right? So he's actually saying that in his viewpoint, you can get higher than a 1 probability. And everybody's explained to him, no, that doesn't work that way. But he doesn't care. He doesn't want to learn how mathematics actually works. He doesn't want to learn actual statistics. Again, when we asked him before what his credentials are, he's like, "Well, I have a degree in civil engineering." Yet he didn't know basic mathematics. Basic mathematics. He didn't know what a right triangle was. I mean, the guy has no experience whatsoever. We asked him, "What's the derivative of x squared?" 0. No, it's not.
That's why I played along with his. So you heard me give him questions on, well, if you have 100 problems and you have 100 solutions, then using his terminology, it breaks down to 1, which means 1 apparently equals natural, therefore greater than 1 is intelligence.
Right, intelligence, right.
Now,
exactly.
What I'm currently still fixed on is the fact that people like Gman said, hey, bro, your stuff is way beyond. you're like on the next level.
You're on the next level, man. We're all going complete nonsensical.
Ocean is witness to that, and even multiple personalities witness to that. That's exactly what Gman said, and I'm laughing, going,
"Oh God."
you don't even understand what he's saying, and yet I'm the one able to understand and play along with it.
Oh,
It just shows how, I hate to say it, but just low cognitive faculties.
Did you guys see the experiment that he put forward? He literally dropped an egg.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
And that proved it was what?
I just explained it, but I'll explain again. All he's showing is that
I still didn't get your explanation. So okay. I guess, all right, round 2. Let's try this.
All right. The machine would drop an egg through a tissue paper, and each time it fell through, he would repeat the experiment by adding another tissue paper. So eventually he got to the point where the egg didn't fall through all the way. Good one so far? By adding that last piece of tissue paper, he has demonstrated intelligence and a probability greater than 1.
How?
That's the point that nobody could. At that point, we're all lost.
Okay,
right?
I understand.
You know what?
How many publish his slides about it? Did he ever actually publish his slides?
No, he's not published anywhere. He has like a couple Kindle books.
No. I think what he's asking is, has the slides ever been uploaded in completion?
No, but I've seen some of them.
Yeah, because he was supposed. I don't know if you remember.
Hold on, I'm going to see if I can get him to send them to me. Hold on. I'm going to
post. I gave him my email address, and he said he was going to post it to the Great Debate community, and never did.
Hey, Steve, did you get the first argument about the whole plant thing? I put a plant in the dark. I put a plant in the light.
Yeah,
the one in the lights, grew. The one in the dark died.
Yeah, but it all boils down to, I know that he talks about a self-defense mechanism, but when he originally described it to us, it was more than just that. It was the fact that the one in the dark couldn't get up and move away. Therefore, it didn't evolve, and therefore no evolution. So because it didn't happen in an experiment, it couldn't happen in real life, which wouldn't happen anyways, because that's just fucking stupid.
I think my favorite part of that conversation was when we asked him if he had ever actually submitted his work to a peer-reviewed journal, and he goes, "Yeah, I've done it 7 times, and it was rejected every time." And we were trying to convince him maybe he should take a hint.
Oh, well, have you read his reviews to his self-published books that he sold less than 10 copies of?
Some of them,
yeah,
after
they're
you
pretty much absolute shit.
They're hilarious. They're just freaking hilarious. Nice guy. But the funniest thing of all this is we've dealt with Edgar, and that's fine. The funniest part, I thought, is that these guys in the Clown Car Posse going, "Whoa, oh, wow. Yeah, you're a fucking genius." I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? This is how inept they really are. They're like, "Oh, probability is greater than 1. Why didn't we think of that? That's fucking genius."
It got to the point where even True was like, "I understand it," but Gman said, "Well, listen, I don't understand it, but I don't want even people to think I understand."
I'm gonna go on air and I'm gonna say this. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I have to say that I did think True even reached a point of like, what the fuck? True was started to dawn on him that something was not right here. But the funniest thing was, and I'm going to transcribe this, that Edgar had said something, and I had asked them what the hell what Ronnie thinks he just said, because Ronnie said, "Yeah, that's a good point." And when Ronnie reiterated what he said, it was nothing even remotely about what he said. He wasn't even paying attention. He just threw something out there. So, it's a backhanded compliment. In one way, yeah, True, I think the light was going on that maybe this guy is way in fucking left field. But at the same time, he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And he's just agreeing with him,
And that kind of speaks also to just how much of a lack of science education they really have had.
Oh, yeah.
Or like general mathematics too,
I agree.
Probability greater than 1. Like me and Abad and Sam the scientist a few days ago talked to him on length about why that wouldn't work.
But you notice he doesn't take it. But you notice he doesn't take that on board, right? He doesn't grasp why you guys are right and why he shouldn't be using it anymore. He's incapable of learning anything new. So he is now officially a member of the Clown Car Posse, even though I like the guy and I like talking to him. But once you reach that point where you reach critical mass and you cannot learn anything, you are a Clown Car Posse member.
Are you aware that I talked to him a few days ago on one of his own hangouts when he was talking or answering questions from the new intelligent design thing?
I know we had a hangout, but I don't think I watched it.
Yeah, well, what we got into the whole, like, how an intelligence must create something quickly, right?
Why did those must create something quickly?
Yeah, that's one of his principles, that intelligence has to create something quickly.
I don't remember that one. Why is that?
Because it wouldn't make sense for a god to make a universe, like, old. It just, I don't know what his explanation was. But the example I used to counter that was like, say you have a population of bunnies and wolves interacting with each other. And what happens if you have them reproducing at the same rate? You see where it's headed?
Okay, well, if they reproduce at the same rate, I mean, are they eating each other?
Well, no. If you have them reproducing at the same rate, because it's a predator-prey relationship, if they're reproducing at the same rate, then the wolves will starve themselves because they will have exhausted the source of prey.
Well, but then they start going to a lesser rate, though. It's equal. It actually reaches an equilibrium.
Right, but I'm saying though, like if you don't have it so that the populations are reproducing at a different rate.
I got you. Oh, you don't have equal. You don't have it equalized.
Yeah, you don't have it equalized. You
lose your food supply. The predator is going to start dying out.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was trying to get him to see. Like there's a domino effect associated with that, you know. You can't have you can't always have things occurring at the same rate that you think they would occur at.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Put the link in the live feed. Anybody's welcome to come in. I'm God damn. Dude, Isaiah, I mean, I saw you like making comments, but I mean, where do you go with the dumb fuckery that hangout had in it? I mean, I'm shocked. I'm like, you guys really think this guy was putting forth a valid argument? And they're like,
no, absolutely not.
Well, I know you guys don't, but the CCP, they did. I was like, thinking to myself, you guys are buying into this? Oh yeah, this guy's great. This guy's a great Christian. Really got to learn from him. Yeah, he's making great points. And then finally somebody said, yeah, I don't understand this, but he didn't say that it wasn't right, but whatever. And that goes like
he more or less said it wasn't right, especially the point when he said, hey, I don't understand it, and I don't want people to even think I understood it. That kind of lets you know where his bias was toward the whole experience.
Was that Ronnie or was that Gman?
Gman said it toward the end.
Oh, okay.
So multiple, if I can ask, what do you think of Mr. Intelligent Design?
I think this is a guy who's probably just read a book somewhere, thought he saw something, and now is just trying to make a living. You know?
He has identified himself with this theory that he has, this conjecture that he has, this scientific thing that he wants to call scientific thing of his understanding of intelligent design, and has latched onto it and has identified with it. It has become his reality. And if it's not true, he even said, it will make him less of a person. He has literally made him part of his persona. And if his persona is diminished by the fact that none of this is true, he thinks it makes him less of a person.
But he is a young Earth creationist, though.
Yes.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, and even he mentioned quite literally, it is his child,
Yeah, yeah. He's
is
very sad if it's wrong. Hmm? He's not using hyperbole there. I think he I can't say literally, but I think he really does treat it and care for it as much as a parent would their kid, kind of thing. I mean, I like Edgar. I really do.
Steve.
Ocean, my love.
Steve.
Yes.
Steve, did you know that he's selling this stuff?
Yes, he has 6 books on. Yeah, we read the reviews on my channel. He's only sold less than 10 copies of 6 books. What does that tell you?
Steve.
And one of them was actually read. I bought one.
Well, and just look at the reviews on the things. Like, holy crap.
They're wretched. I mean, he's worse than Josh Shelley.
He's
selling.
They're $5 a pop.
Yeah, he sold less than 10 copies. Yeah, we've engaged with this guy many, many times, Ocean. Where you been hanging? Edgar Berstrada. Yep.
I'm shocked.
He is delusional. Nice guy, but delusional.
Yeah, nice dude. Like nice
dude, really nice guy.
Would I have a beer with him? Sure. Would I be
me too.
Entertained the entire time? Yes. Would I feel like I'm in any danger? No.
Yeah, he's a regular on my channel. We decided to make it a weekly thing. He's a good guy. It's a Mr. Intelligent Design Entertainment Hour, I call it.
Yeah, if Mega, I can't pronounce that. Meligris, Phil. Anyway, yeah, if you have Kindle Unlimited or Amazon Unlimited or whatever the fuck, they're free. But
yeah,
like, holy shit.
yeah, that's Jade, by the way. Jade West.
That's what?
That's Jade. Mela Grease Filius is Jade West.
Oh, okay.
Not Dr.
She bought his book.
Isn't part of this thing also is that like the reason you don't understand it is because you don't understand his theory or you don't agree with his theory?
No, you don't understand it because you don't understand the real intelligence, because only he knows the real intelligence because he discovered the real intelligence, and without the real intelligence, you can't understand the real intelligence.
He sounds like a very typical like 70s, 80s teen who would just literally jerk off to himself consistently if he had every opportunity to.
But I'm not even amazed by that anymore. I'm amazed by the fact that Clown Car Posse was buying into this stuff. And
he was on there. I want true empiricism to start trying to wrap his head around his experiments, and then try and start using them.
Well, how is that any different from us trying to understand true empiricism? Right? I mean, now True, I think True is getting a taste of his own medicine. That when True starts talking, it's like what the fuck are you saying?
Except true empiricism is going to think that he's found something he can use, but he hasn't.
No.
True empiricism and Gman were both defending this guy. I don't know if this is a case of like Christians rounding the wagons together or something like that.
I think so.
But
I think so.
It seems that they're like true empiricism in that hangout kept typing in the side, let him speak. He's trying to make him, and Antonio was like right behind him, like, this guy's made some complicated discoveries, man.
Complicated discoveries.
He's got to have time to flesh them out because he's trying to explain this. He's trying to give you like the Reader's Digest version, like basically is what he was trying to say. And fucking Antonio is.
You know what? I'm going to go on record anymore. I'm actually going to say out of all that whole group, I think Antonio Fletcher, if we had to go by just pure sheer lack of intelligence, I think Antonio's the dumbest of them all. He really is. I mean,
he's not a smart guy.
He's not a smart guy. Not a smart guy at all.
It's fine. I don't really. It's whatever.
Him looking at that, going, "Oh, look at this awesome presentation thing." It's like, dude.
No, but what got me is that true empiricism was doing the same thing.
But I think True started course correct.
We're all on the same page until Gman finally was like, "I don't get it."
Yeah, but did they try to course correct a little bit?
I don't really think Antonio was more for it. I think he was just trying to say, let him speak, let him get his time to speak. I think
no, he was for it. No, he recommended
it. This is like brilliant.
No, he recommended this guy. He was like, you got to get a hold of Edgar. He really knows his stuff. He's a really smart guy. He has a great explanation. Yeah, no, he really Antonio's hook, line, and sinker, baby, because Antonio's just that stupid. He doesn't understand you can't have probabilities greater than one. But to him, it's magical. So Sean want to come in? Sean's in the live feed. GPH, you can come in here. I don't care.
I am so confused.
Don't be. Again,
it's just a social thing that's really interesting. Is that you brought this guy on to be like, just kind of your laughing boy or something. I don't know why you brought him on.
No, he was. He was
kind of a comedy.
Yeah, but I told him. I said, Edgar, I want you to know here. I'm going to treat you like a piece of shit because I think you're incredibly stupid, but you're funny and you're entertaining, and I kind of like you. And we actually hit it off. So,
okay, well,
I was up front.
Good, but now he's been adopted by these. Like they found him on the side of the road, and they were just like, you know what? You should join us in our bad science. Why?
Well, I mean,
why?
It wasn't like he's going to join our side. I
get that, but like you know me, I take a vacation from this debate. I'm barely interested in the evolution versus creationism debate, like barely. It's something that's never really whatever. But like the most interesting it got for me was when Thunderfoot and Venom Fang Axe were having it out. But then, this thing with you and Ronnie pops up, and then you invite this guy who's a total dolt. Just let's be frank. And then he gets picked up by Ronnie and is held up on a pedestal as somebody who's worth interviewing. He's gonna be on Ronnie's channel.
I know
tomorrow,
but he's entertaining.
Okay, concepts.
Christian Smith just said, "Been listening to your past few hangs, Steve, while I've been sick at home. Sorry to hear you're sick." Christian. And he says, very entertaining. I also enjoyed Mr. ID the most. And I'm getting that a lot. People have enjoyed me having.
No, he's a
idea.
pleasure. No, he's very nice. Like
Yeah.
he's a very personable guy. But his arguments, they don't. There's a huge like leap there. And it was when I bumped into him on Gman's channel. It was the first time I ever seen him. And I'm sitting here looking at it like, how are you getting there? He's put a radish in a closet and one on the porch, and one of them grew, and his conclusion is life is intelligent.
Yeah,
there's this weird thing like I'm not sure you guys know the saga of Rob Beasley, obviously, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and like when he was talking about this the other day, where just like he's come up with these ideas. He's the only one that has them. He's trying to present them to everybody. His family thinks he's a little bit nuts. They're kind of talking about it, but they're supporting him and all this stuff. And like all I could think about is like this is exactly the same thing as Rob Beasley. This is when he started off with his what is this thing called good or God, whatever, is his book, and he tried peddling this out there as the the source of all spirituality. And the same way, spreading awareness, all this other stuff. But what did it drive him to? He got institutionalized. He was on the run. He was in trying to peddle sex off people on the internet. Because he realized that he thought that he was like a spiritual guru, and this is the next step. And it's just like when people come up with these ideas, and they are convinced that they're right, and no amount of criticism will ever let them change their ideas out there. You got to worry about where's this going to end up. I don't think he's dangerous. I don't think
God help us if Rob Beasley was a little more attractive, a little more sane, and a little more charismatic. There would be a fucking cult in Australia.
Maybe even
one. And I personally think the case with Edgar is I think something probably happened either something in his young adult life, or something happened maybe, when he was young that drove him to this conclusion, or that drove him to this process. I mean, certainly, I don't think anybody's going to argue it's strange.
I don't think it's when he was young. I mean, he said his son's in university going for some type of biology degree. He's going to review this stuff. I mean, even they're kind of looking at him like he's a little bit off kilter here. So I don't know.
But his argument was really like his experiment to prove, I forget what it was, intelligence or something, was literally I put one plant in a dark closet, I put one plant in sunlight. The one in the dark closet died, i.e. plants need light, and there's an intelligent designer. That was ridiculous. I thought
he said that he already knew that. And he doesn't
know how to do a proper experiment.
Conclusions of his experiment and defended it because it was a premise of the experiment.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know like, well, why did you do the fucking experiment?
He doesn't know what a null hypothesis is. He doesn't know what a type 1 or type 2 error is. He has no idea about scientific methodology. Like I said, I don't think he ever went to college, even though he claims to be a civil engineer.
And it's either that or he just simply doesn't care.
There's certain things you would know in fields. He didn't know any of these things. He didn't know Hooke's law. He didn't know Young's modulus. He didn't know how to do a simple derivative. There's no civil engineer in the world that would not be able to answer those questions instantaneously. It's like asking a computer scientist what a monitor is. They're going to know what a monitor is, right?
Right. And I mean, I can understand, like a civil engineer messes up like on a constant when performing an inverse Laplace transform, or,
shit happens.
Going through, a Fourier transform, but not something like taking a simple integral like 1 over x, or,
Yeah, well, he doesn't know what a Fourier transform is. He didn't know any of those terms. How do you get a degree in civil engineering without knowing what a Fourier transform is? You couldn't do it. You have to take wave functions.
Well, exactly. It's
I just jumped in for a minute, and I just want to say one thing before I do leave. And I know this is probably going back to the previous conversations you guys have had. I'm not sure what you're talking about beforehand, but in general, are you here? Or I was listening to General and Gman's discussion earlier today. I'm sure that you probably already talked about that, Steve.
What was that?
General and Gman's discussion?
We didn't really talk. I don't. Well, a little bit. What about it?
There is one really interesting thing that I found of that. Like first off, I mean, there was like the standard things about just Gman wasn't really like listening to anything that General was saying. But there was a really good point that General brought up, and I was actually really impressed. I mean, I'm not converting anytime soon here, but when he brought up a verse in was it Psalms to defend natural selection, I was just like, that's fucking awesome. Like that was it was pretty funny. It was because it works. It really does work. I was like, that's really interesting. I've never heard of somebody try to defend the concept of natural selection through a Bible verse. I thought that was really well played, and it's really too bad that the content of or the level of conversation wasn't there for anybody to really pick it up.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, General was such on a high level that he's in the stratosphere compared to this Clown Car Posse, right? He can have conversations with people like with Hugh Ross and stuff like that, but these guys look at General like, oh, he's just a heathen or this, that, and that. And while I do think some stuff General does is post hoc, my personal opinion, but I haven't looked too deep into it. But from what I've seen, some of it's post hoc. Some of it is really good analysis. I mean, he makes good cases for certain things. It's hard pressed not to go, yeah, okay, this is actually pretty interesting. I may not see it exactly the same way he does, but he's not like he's in left field with any of this stuff. And he's not.
No.
And I mean, even I will say, like, even from the limited interaction, like, even from what I've seen, and I've seen very little of him, but the way he presents himself, the way he moderated the debate, the way he structures himself, and the way he seems to structure his arguments are very solid. It doesn't seem like he would be one to be suspect to, making too many errors, or if he did, at least he'd be willing to recognize it.
Yeah, but atheists make the same mistake with General. They outright dismiss him and say, oh, well, it's all post hoc. Well, I can't even say that. I just say that some of it I question, but I know General puts a lot of effort and a lot of thought into this stuff, and not all his arguments. He gets some of his arguments obviously are the concordance approach that he's read from other things, but he can present them really well. But it's such on a high level that you're dealing with people on the Clown Car Posse that literally thought Edgar's presentation was sound. It's like, okay, how do you, if that's the level that you're on, how do you present higher level stuff like General's level? You can't do it. They're incapable of understanding something like that.
Yeah, it was like, again, Ronnie brought, like, this is, I mean, I'm not sure if this is Ronnie's new article, or sorry, go-to defense, but it was they found grass in dinosaur dung. So,
which has been explained to him ad nauseum. Jade explained it. It's like they already expected that grass probably formed a little earlier. They just didn't have confirmation, and you can move back certain dates as long as you don't go past your ancestor, right? You can't go back prior to ancestors. That's the problem.
Yes, that's exactly it. And they were, and they asked them, they said, well, how does this falsify evolution? And they're like, well, because evolution said it wouldn't happen.
That's not what it said.
Well, no, show us that. And General asked that. Show us where they said that. It's like, well, that's what they said in 2005. That's what they said. It's like, no, it never said that. And it's like, well, if you could just keep pushing dates back, then you can't falsify it. It's like, yes, you can. If exactly what you said.
It's past prior ancestors.
Yeah, that's how you falsify it. And just pushing back the date that grass was around doesn't falsify anything. Like, fuck.
We understand
this
that.
This is not a hard concept. This is like fucking bush league shit.
But
this is the problem that gets to me.
Saka. It is difficult concepts for them.
I know. It is difficult for them, but it's fucking bush league. This isn't even fucking complex topics yet.
I know. That's why
it astounds me. It astounds me.
The name of the hangout is the National Community with the Clown Car Posse has reached critical mass, and I'm serious. They have gone so goddamn first grade shit, and the things that they're wrong on, that it's hard to believe that they actually have discussions about this stuff anymore. It really is.
I know. It's painful. But anyway, I gotta go. Too bad General's not here. I just want to say good work. I mean, it's always really impressive to see some composure. Yeah, like that. You gotta appreciate that. that stuff. So anyway, I'll go back to probably listening here in a bit, but I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, bud. General, are you still there? Or you I don't know. You may be listening, but
I think you guys are missing something subtle about Mr. ID's argument.
what's that?
Like, for example, in his egg argument, right? It fails until he hits 8.5 amount of tissues. And then it doesn't fail. Right there, he'll say that's intelligence. But
that's right.
But he will say nature can mimic that. So what's the extra thing?
Well, Nelson, but the thing is, though, he takes it one step further, because there is actually a point where he mentions that if you use too many tissue papers, say you use 500 or 1,000, well, when it's dropped, it'll actually break because the stress it's being exerted back on is too much and it breaks. So the range is finite. It's not infinite. There is a level of acceptability, but it only holds true in a general range. It doesn't hold true over, an infinite time span. Or in this case, napkins or tissues.
Agreed, but that doesn't change the probabilities of greater than 1. That's where a fundamental mistake that he's making. He can't get around that until he fixes that.
Another thing is that redundancy is readily viewed in nature. Like gene duplication is a form of redundancy.
Yeah, we have redundancy all the time. Yeah,
so I don't see what the point is really.
Well, he doesn't have an argument. I mean, Mr. Intelligent Design is delusional. But the comedy really is that these guys are like, yeah, let's latch on to this. Okay, let's see what he's got to say. Oh, Antonio's like, yeah, this is some deep shit. He's trying to get it out there in a abridged version, like a Reader Digest version. No, Antonio, Mr. Intelligent Design doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Not even close.
Well, I mean, the other thing is like, what have we not covered with him? Like, the only thing I can think of that's left is like chemistry and like what else? Like philosophy.
With who? Mr. Intelligent Design or Ronnie?
Mr. Intelligent Design. I mean, we've pretty much seen Ronnie's worth.
Yeah, we've explained this all.
I actually paid Jesus to do a funny thing about it. I might post it later.
Who trusts in Jesus or Jesus saves or who?
So-called Jesus.
Oh,
Fiber guy.
I guess tomorrow Ronnie's going to have a hangout on models, which again confuses me. He said our debate was not about models, and yet complained I didn't have a model, which I did. Again, general relativity is a model. He's trying to backpedal on this so bad, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the issue is that what does Ronnie understand a model to be? Because it could be that your definition of a model and his definition of a model differ.
Well, he never gives a proper. Well, that's why in my debate, did you note that in the very beginning, I defined my terms. And I explain what a model is.
Right, but it's kind of talking to a brick wall, though, if he doesn't agree to those terms. If you've used
I understand that, but he didn't have an opening to even say what he meant by it. I would have been fine with that. He did, and we're going to say, okay, let's see your definition, and let me explain to you why definition makes no sense, right? I would have been happy to do that. But a model, by definition, is an explanation of an observed phenomenon, one that's been confirmed, one that's been shown to be predictive and explanatory. So I don't know what the hell he thinks this stuff is.
Right, but I mean, not like with the term model, but with other terms, you have a level of leniency that you can have with defining a term.
Sure.
As long as it's parameterized correctly.
I don't mind that, right? As you said, as long as it's parameterized right, I don't mind if somebody has their own terminology that they want to use, as long as I understand their context. I'm like, okay, let's just use that for a working definition, whatever, right?
But did you see me repeat Huro's quote? Did you see me repeat the Huro's quote? And True Prism was like, "Oh, that's his opinion on what a model is."
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They said to you, well, you rely too much on Huros. That doesn't distract from the point that what he was saying about the model is what most people would say a model is.
Yeah, and what all scientists would agree on.
Yeah, I think every scientist would agree upon that. I mean, I'd be hard pressed not to, right? So why does it matter the source? Wasn't he created, committed the fallacy of a genetic fallacy in a way? It's just Huros. So what? I mean, that's I agree with the definition of the model. I agree with Huros on this stuff. So
in general, I think the issue comes back further than that, though. I think it's a matter more of that like word association, for instance. So, for instance, if I say the word apple, people may associate that like with tree or pie, for instance. But so when you say something, or when somebody has an image of what you are, General, they may respond a certain way without even hearing or without even recognizing what it is that you're saying. A nature born of an impulse born out of your own nature.
Isn't that unfair? Because even if,
well, it is unfair. I completely agree.
Yeah,
but it's something. But it's something that they suffer from usually.
For example, we now have an image of Mr. ID, right?
Right. I think we can agree on that.
Let's just say Mr. ID tomorrow does a brilliant job in explaining to us general relativity. He goes through the math, he goes through the Lorentz, field equations.
Sure.
Sorry.
Now, let's say it's perfect.
Now, if we already had a pre-made image of what he is because of what he was saying prior, that means it's still unfair to then judge him for what he may present as absolutely true next time.
Right. I mean,
the message rather than interpret the, judge the person.
Right. But I mean, I think though, in a sense, you're always judging no matter what you're doing based on previous experience. You're always going off of what you have to,
that is true, yeah.
Off the sample that you're biasing it from. So, like the instance with Mr. Intelligent Design, like he may explain relativity perfectly for all I care, or for all anybody who's ever studied it cares. But me, I would probably think, okay, somebody's feeding him the information, because my previous encounters with him have told me and have shown me he doesn't seem to have this kind of cognitive capacity about him.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all.
So then, point would then be so based on my history with everyone and how I've been consistent with the way I present data, I think I've done it a lot more fairly and more scholarly. Obviously than Mr. Intelligent Design.
Oh, and I agree with you perfectly. I think it's a matter of though that the members of the Clown Car Posse have an idea of what atheists are, and they have an idea of how secular communities operate.
Can I make a note real quick? Can I make a note real quick? Edgar, Edward Braley in the live feed. Half of the people in here right now aren't atheists, so you have one chance to retract your statement, or I'm just going to remove you anymore because I like the people engaged, but the stupidity that I've had to deal with you dumb fucks and you people lying is enough for anybody. And so I'm happy if somebody comes in and wants to engage, but outright lie, I don't tolerate. So would you like to correct your statement? Because you said atheist circle jerking around the CPCB again. I don't mind you making a derogatory comment. I don't care about that. But there's half of the people in here are atheists, maybe even more. I know for a fact 3 people in here out of the 6 are not atheists.
I mean, I identify myself more as an agnostic than I do as an atheist.
So Edward, you have one chance to apologize and correct that, or you're forever banned from my live feed. Your call. Go ahead.
But this just points out the fact that I mean, what's your name, by the way? Is it Andreas? Andreas. Andreas. Okay. You've just basically highlighted I don't know how to put this, the thinking mode of Gman and Ronnie. The fact that they think that Edgar is of value, intellectually speaking, and then they criticize me as being heretical, heresy, non-Christian, working for Satan. It blows my mind. And really, how do these people survive?
Well, I mean,
it's just amazing.
Gman has expressed.
Anyway,
go ahead.
I was basically making that point that who has the truth bias here? They seem to be so sold on this young Earth non-evolutionary paradigm.
General, I think they'd be less hostile to you if you admitted that you're not taking it literally, that you're taking it.
But the thing is, I am taking it literally, though.
Yeah, I mean, why should he change what he believes? And
Yeah.
I think Ronnie did lie. He said he was an old Earth creationist. He's not an old Earth creationist. He has gone on record to say he thinks the Earth is around a few 100,000 years old. That's not old Earth creationism. That is a form of young Earth creationism.
Ronnie's all over the place, yeah.
yeah, he's all over the place, yeah. But he literally, if you ask him, well, if you ask the time frames, well, give me a time frame. How old do you think the Earth is? He'll say, no more than a couple of 100,000, a couple of 100,000 years old. That's not an old Earth position. So,
I want to touch on General's point really quickly. I mean, I do think myself, I can't speak for other atheists or other members of secular communities out there, but even I do find myself, committing that kind of fallacy where I see a person with a kind of name and I do associate, hey, oh, that's probably this kind of person. Great. Just fucking great, But even I try and keep myself open-minded to, hey, what if this person actually has a point? Or what if this person is more educated than I think? I shouldn't always let my understanding of a person or my understanding of an argument influence the conversation me and a person have.
Right. But Andreas, now notice the honesty that you're coming from, and the it's you're presenting a scientific method there. You're being skeptical for the sake of. Will Gman and True Prism ever have that type of mentality? I don't think so. Once they see it in a certain light, unless you appeal to their terms, then and really they're looking for victory. They all they're looking for is trying to win an argument or debate. They're not even considering the data that's being presented, more informed decision and understanding of not only the scriptures but the science. I don't see why they should see it as an enemy. Why is evolution an enemy to the faith? And I don't get it.
Well, I think part of that is just, I think it speaks to a level of insecurity that they have with themselves, and also just to the sense of how drastically odd and just how drastically insane the way they view Christians, or the way they view how Christians ought to be, and the way they view how people who just simply disagree for perfectly rational reasons ought to be with respect to their own position. I think
why is it more complex than the fact that a literal reading contradicts it?
Can you say that again, Nelson? I didn't hear all of it.
Why is it any more complex than the fact that a literal reading of Genesis contradicts evolution?
Well, I mean, I think part of that is because you can't honestly do a literal reading of it. Part of it is informed by bias that you may already have and experience that you may already have.
Or more like an literal English reading.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, even in science necessarily, that you can always that you can always approach something in a, truly nonchalant sense. To some extent, you may have a bias as to how you feel before you even discover the theory, or before you even begin to invest your time and effort into understanding it.
Yeah, they're saying in the live feed that Darwin's given good arguments against atheists. I'm like, well, if he has, I have never heard one. They say Matt Bell has. Matt Bell's better. Matt Bell has given some decent arguments, but the problem with Matt Bell is, one, they're not his own arguments. He's just a parrot. He's never come up with his own argument. Every time he's tried with the Kalam, he's failed. I mean, he almost comically so. And the Kalam cosmological argument in itself is not really that great of an argument. It's really not. It's valid, but so what?
I have a question for Jen. If you deem it boring, I will not follow up with it. But why would God give an English translation that would mislead us?
Yeah. It's not that he's given the text in an English translation. So English derives from, and then you'll have to track down a Germanic language. So then you'll have to track down languages, going back to Latin, and then Greek, and then Hebrew. God is communicating. So Hebrew is not the first language. You have Proto-Semitic languages that predate Hebrew. But generally, you have a language that that humans speak. Diversity of languages as humans migrate and so on. Let's just go along with the argument about like a classic evangelical argument that the Bible's inspired, it's inerrant. So therefore, say the New Testament, that's obviously, it was written in Greek because it was the common language of the day. So we have the New Testament in Greek. So therefore, and we claim that this text is inspired. But here's the point: it's not like how the Muslims understand it, and that is God choosing a particular language and then truths, universal truths, so to speak, that can only be understood in that language. So the King James onlys fall into that error, and Muslims fall into that error because Muslims think Allah speaks Arabic, and King James onlys think that God speaks English, Elizabethan English. You do have some Christians who think that God spoke Greek, and hence the Greek New Testament, or God spoke Hebrew. Apparently, Adam spoke Hebrew. The point is that omniscience, he knows, human diversity will take place. He knows that there will be Semitic differences between how Hebrew, for example, the word or. If you were to read or of the Chaldeans, actually, yeah, this is a really good example. So Abraham comes from Ur of the Chaldeans. Or in Hebrew means fire. But or is not a Hebrew word. It appears in the Hebrew scriptures, and it appears in the English translation that, well, it's more like a transliteration. But what was or before the form that it took in Hebrew? Well, or is an Ugaritic word to mean city. So the city of the Chaldeans. Now, here's an example of taking the mechanical version of inspiration, which is that God uses languages as a form of inspiration. Century AD scribe who wanted to convert the Hebrew Bible into Aramaic. I think his name was Jonathan, Ben Jonathan. And he didn't have any idea. In fact, people at the time had no idea about ancient Near Eastern script. They only knew about a form of Paleo-Hebrew, and that's the latest they could go. So when he came across the word or, he was confused because he's like, hang on a second, Yahweh saving Abraham from the fire of the Chaldeans? Because, in Hebrew, or means fire. With it, and then out came a legend that Abraham was saved from the fire of the Chaldeans. And that resulted in a complete misinterpretation of the original text. And believe it or not, that actually led to the fact that the Quran has that same story, that Abraham was saved from the fire of the Chaldeans. Now notice, Muslims are making the point that the Quran is eternal, for all eternity, in Arabic form. So that means for all eternity, Allah didn't know the difference between Ugaritic and Hebrew. And he didn't realize that that's actually a mistranslation of what the word actually meant. So the point is that if you're relying on an interpretation based on your reading with using a specific language, that is faulty. You need, again, what does a scientific method do? You're wanting to accumulate as much data as possible to say the model is coherent. If you're only going to look at it from an English perspective, you're going to fall into a lot of misinterpretation. And that's what I'm getting at. Sure,
but doesn't that mean that God has a communication problem?
No, it's to do with humans. So, and in fact, he himself says, well, specifically Paul says, in 2 Timothy 2:15, where Paul says, approved worker before God, not being ashamed of, handling the word of truth. But notice he says, with precision. And that is something a lot of Christians are lacking, that you need to be precise with your interpretation. Because, okay, I'm coming to a passage, all right, what's the consensus in regards to this passage? And what's the nuances of, how it's written, the language. For example, the head covering issue in 1 Corinthians 11. Christians at the moment, there are Christian churches that say, oh, you must have women cover your heads. Okay, believe it or not, we now have scholars who have tapped into ancient Greek and tapped into ancient medical practices that believed that the word for covering is actually a word that means testicle. So again, this comes back to that whole issue of, and don't forget, translators, like say the King James translators, they had no idea that parabolion means testicle. But because of later scholarship and so on, we have a more fuller understanding of what that actually means. And so all these traditions that, oh, it has to be this, guess what? You're jumping the gun. You need, before you establish the model as, set in stone, you need to see if all the data is accumulated and then make a final decision. I mean, this is, yeah, he proposed the mathematics, it makes sense and so on, but it's pretty radical if you think about it. Then finally, there was an observation, a solar eclipse, and it still continues to be tested to see if it's falsifiable. So that's how I, come across the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, because you have sayings, like in today's society, we say woke.
Hey, real quick,
right?
General, can you once again explain your iconage there, because you have a fundy in the live feed here that doesn't understand the picture by Dolly, and it tries to imply that it's sacrilege rather than what it's actually showing, which is the tesseract and then Jesus extending his power beyond just, I guess, the third dimension. Yeah. Could you want to explain it to somebody who doesn't understand actual Christianity as well as he thinks he may?
So, I don't care if Salvador Dali painted it or not. The point of this image is that you have it actually in the text. So in Ephesians 3, you have Paul describing the love of Jesus, and then he says, he gives a four-dimensional perspective. He says the length, width, breadth, and height. So length, width, breadth, and height. I mean, well, actually, it's the word is depth. And interestingly, the church fathers and a lot of Christians during that era were wondering, well, hang on a second, we only know 3 dimensions. Well, why is Paul giving like an extra dimension? What is going on here? And they would then, based on that, theologically realize that, hang on a second, what Jesus is doing on the cross is not just a one-moment thing. Because we believe he's atoning for people past, present, and future. And they didn't have the mathematics to explain that. Today, we have the mathematics beyond Euclidean geometry. If you involve, say, a 4-dimensional cube and you unravel it.
His atonement was more than just for the people living at that time. It extended to all periods of time, past, present, and future, which is
exactly. So the image.
No, I get
so,
it.
So the image is reflecting a deep mathematical truth, and again, I'll ask, I guess, atheists, if this is a man-made religion, if this is a man-made, ideology of his work on the cross, why would it coincidentally match precisely the description as we can see in mathematics? So we have a cross-shaped image, but it's multi-dimensional.
But Titus, I think it's Titus.
And it's just amazing.
Titus 1:2 or 1 Timothy 1:2 says, "Before the beginning of time," which matches what Hawking, Penrose, and
you can involve
Ellis said. Yeah. The time has a beginning.
Yeah, time has a beginning. I think you have to limit it though. You can't say like before the Big Bang. Then I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You could say before time, but yeah, time had a beginning. I will agree with that. Yes, because space-time came about at the same time, right? No pun intended. But once you had space, you had time, and prior to that, there was no space-time.
They dedicated a whole monograph to proving that time has a beginning.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with that.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I kind of want to ask a question to both you and Nelson. By you, I mean general. I'm kind of wondering if you view, at least I personally do, but if we kind of have to understand religion as it relates to culture and to the time frame of that culture. And by that I mean that we've seen various religions rise and fall before. So we've seen like Nordics and Greeks and Romans and their religions fall, but we've also seen various philosophies that arise from these areas as well. And we've also seen how they change. You briefly mentioned mathematics. Well, that also changes too. So it is true that, we gain truth through mathematics and gain truth through science, but it changes over culture and time as well. I'm kind of interested on your thoughts of that.
I would say the maths, well, this is the philosophy of math. And I fit under the camp, Gödel, right? He gave an excellent refutation of logicism.
I'd have to look it up again, but I have heard of the name.
Yeah. Now, I'm the minority that do hold to a form of logicism, which is like a new neo-logicism. That everything is reducible down to logic, even mathematics. Mathematics and logic are like interchangeable.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what mathematics attests to, isn't it? The form of logic, the form of logic we can achieve.
Yeah, and there was a guy named Gödel that a lot of presuppositionists like to use to try and refute the notion that the universe doesn't operate on a mathematics and they don't understand the argument. But in Ephesians 3:10, Paul says that through the church, the wisdom of God, the multifaceted wisdom of God, will continually be unveiled to be known. This religion, it's a pretty tiny religion. Only 3,000 people start to follow it when Christianity comes on the scene, and it's under severe persecution. And then this remarkable, I mean, you just have to look at the church father material. This remarkable, it's kind of pretty much like the Cambrian explosion of just the diversity of intellectual rigor, talking about this thing called the cross, the ramifications about it, years. And it's just, continuing on and on and on with commentaries, songs, whatever, creeds. And alongside that, there was a theologian during the 1900s. Thomas, I forget his name now, but he's a Reformed theologian who made a very powerful argument that the Renaissance Christian theology. So science now that we benefit from derives from basically the Christian. By the way, Bart Ehrman, when he was debating Robert Price, Bart Ehrman made that point. If Christianity didn't come on the scene, Western culture would be radically different.
Oh yeah, I've heard that argument before.
So my question is, why is this all so coincidental? So you have a supposed, let's just say a man-made religion, Christianity, that they make up this thing. It's a myth, yet it remarkably helped society from then on, perfectly, intellectually, theologically.
Have you ever heard of the Inquisition?
It just fits. Everything just fits perfectly.
I mean, okay, I could do the same thing though. I mean, I can always bring up examples that appeal to positive aspects, but in the same sense though, the Dark Ages, for instance, I know you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Huge era of scientific suppression of thought, suppression of pretty much everything. It was an age, what I like to refer to kind of
the Salem witch trials were horrible misogynistic acts, right?
Yes, that was also part of it. But it was also an area where
are you saying that Christianity suddenly boosted society
at its strongest.
Yeah, but you see, the Dark Ages, right? Under what institution?
Oh no, I have controls.
when you look at the Reformation, the Reformers, they had an attitude that they wanted to go back to what it was like before the Dark Ages, back to that Enlightenment-like thinking.
Well,
and
right.
so if it wasn't, if it wasn't for them, again, it's like the Crusaders. Islam wanted to subjugate Western civilization under Sharia, and the Pope, or Popo II, no, was it Popo II? He knew what would happen, because science and all things that we benefit from would be just crushed. So the first wave of Crusaders went out to save Italy. If it wasn't for those Crusaders, then we'd have Islam right throughout Europe, including Britain. So there are moments where human beings, and I guess
there were multiple points in which they were stopped, but yeah.
So human beings, just to add in, because I'm a Christian from a spiritual context, through an evil influence to cause the nullification and the degeneration of basically progress that started with the early church. So it may sound like a conspiracy theory, but again, it's too coincidental.
I mean, I don't personally think that, this knowledge was encapsulated in one specific area. I think knowledge, in a sense, we kind of have an intrinsic idea of knowledge, but that it takes a while for us to understand it, and it takes for a while for us to formulate how we represent it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes. But in the opposite sense, though, we've also seen how society operated back in the Dark Ages, too. It became very much so a system of an anarchy, where after a while it became very much so not really much control. And it was very chaotic, and it was very, very dark, and very, very needed to come to an end.
Very true, yeah. And usually that involves not allowing the general public to aid in the development of research, R&D, and so on. It's only what the priests say. That is very totalitarian. And that is not the original what discipleship meant, and how churches were meant to gather, and all that.
Oh, and I'm not trying to dispute that. I don't doubt that, it was very...
Yeah, I know. I'm just adding. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I don't think it was intended to be more of, kind of like a warmongering practice. I think it was very peaceful in the beginning, but the whole thing of, he who laughs last laughs loudest kind of thing, that when something like this happens on such a drastic scale, it kind of leaves an impression of what that religion will express, or what that religion will... How people will do it.
Do you think that history would have taken the same path if Apollonius the Apollonius religion took hold instead of the Jesus religion?
Yeah, you're talking about a similar story as Jesus, right?
Yeah, he resurrected and all that jazz.
Yeah, the interesting thing, what Bart Ehrman doesn't say is there were church fathers who were already, they knew about that, and they it was just a wannabe sort of, when you have wannabes today, like, I don't know, like a Hitler, no, like a Elvis wannabe, or you have people taking on personas, and they make these radical, but there's no evidence, there's no actual, there's a group of followers. And so Gamaliel in Acts 5 says, he gives examples of two people that had followers, something like 500 followers. And then he turns to the council, and these are non-Christian Jews. And he's saying, look, if this religion, this Christian religion, if it's of God, then you'll be fighting against God. And then later on in Acts, Paul warns the Ephesian elders by saying, don't forget that I warn you, day and night with tears, that, and then he's speaking about the church in the future, that if you allow basically what you were just describing, like the Dark Ages sort of thing, if you allow that to happen, another way of just allowing that the enemy against knowledge, truth, science, love, you're just allowing that to then just ruin what has been started in Jesus.
Well, but I mean, I think part of that, and I'm not trying to cut you off. I don't know if you were done, but I think part of that is it's driven in human nature. And I call it an illusion because I view it that way. But the illusion of power, the illusion of control, the illusion of grander things that we have imbued in our mind, I think that gets the better of people, and I think it truly does. It ruins cultures and societies, and does to much of my shame. It ruins ideology. It ruins or tarnishes ideologies like Christianity or Islam or other religions who unfortunately had to, take a little bit of a harsh hit from, people who are just power hungry.
Why do you think Christianity overtook Constantine? What
Actually, it didn't. So Constantine, he actually saw the benefits of the religion of Christianity, and I genuinely think he had a genuine conversion. So
you think he actually saw something?
No. So when you read Constantine by Eusebius, Constantine in his testimony, like he then presents his testimony as to why he's now a Christian, explains it exactly like what I've been saying, that this religion, if it's of human origin, and then he realizes, and he calls it the temple of lies. All the pagan rituals and the pagan religions, the imperial cult in his day. In one way or another, it's going to be it's limited. It's corrupt because it's at the end of the day, it's from human origins. And he then turns to the Christians and he goes, okay, your model of how to live life, the deep theological stuff that you talk about, then I guess how that relates to politics and so on. He saw it as, quote unquote, divine. And so he basically says, okay, I'm going to try this. And he tries it and it starts to work. Now, to sort of nuance that, later on in his life, he then starts to, I guess, again, this is the human nature part, he starts to then abuse it and take into account things like war and, to subjugate other lands. And it's interesting to note, as a leader, he turns around and calls the Pontifical College, the temple of lies, and it's not, and he uses the term apogasma, which means reflection of divine light. So he turns to Jesus and he's like, yeah, truly, this guy is, apogasma. Later on, though, I guess it's human nature. He does fall. He does do something wrong, and that is he goes and wins a war with crosses on his shoulders, soldiers' shields.
And that changed.
But initially he changed because of the intellectual rigor and the it's like a perfect model. It's perfect for government. It's separate. There's a separation of church and state, but at the same time, the principles involved in the gospel, a good place, and that's what he wanted. He wanted a good, functioning, healthy society. You won't find it with those pagan temples.
Do you think
so he's so rational?
In other words,
what did you say?
So you're saying his conversion was practical?
I would say practical and thought through, because he uses terms that to study the Bible in order to even use a term like apogasma. So he must have really looked into it.
So, okay.
So you guys done, or sorry?
No, I still got about 2 more questions, if that's fine.
10?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So,
no, I'll give you 2. People in the live feed are kind of moving on here.
So the first thing I want to ask, the what I'm kind of getting from general is kind of a little bit of the whole manifest destiny concept. The concept that if I want to see something a specific way, if I want to view like a set of ideologies or a set of beliefs as something, no matter what my views are, they will gradually change over time in a way that I don't notice them, that will conform to what I want. And the second question I'm wondering is that, do we need religion in a sense to achieve this kind of goal of peace, or to achieve this kind of goal of, I guess, divine enlightenment or understanding that we have? Because I see science in a way as kind of not necessarily striving for that, but it's getting close to it. It's kind of, it gives you a sense of like, this is what the universe is like. This is how, the world truly functions.
Yeah. So a good way to answer that question is, there are Christians who take, for example, the Old Testament laws and use that as a means of how society should function. And hence your question about, should religion be the foundation of how to do all this? Again, no, that's not the New Testament model. The New Testament model is, you first give God the glory and give thanks for the fact that he's found a solution, ultimate solution to death and suffering. And that will only happen, at the end of days. But in the meantime, church now is like a vehicle by means God can, in Christian theology, the Holy Spirit can work through the church, cause a growth in knowledge, cause a growth in scientific model, increase in technology for the sake of spreading the gospel. All that stuff. Now, Testament did not originate the Old Testament laws. The Old Testament laws were human-made laws. And all he did was he used those laws to bring about an ultimate good. And then finally, when the laws became not needed anymore, like at the time of Jeremiah, he tells Jeremiah, the day is coming when I'll make a brand new covenant that will not be like the covenant that I made with the Israelites out of Egypt, because it was faulty. So what's the new covenant? The new covenant is all to do with the morals that Jesus presents. And ultimately, the ultimate ethic is the title of Jesus himself, the Logos. And that fits with the scientific method. So the church, again, the church is all about, or the new covenant is all about progress and intellectual rigor to bring, to investigate nature, to bring about the ultimate good. How do we help people at the end of the day? How do we reduce pain? And this includes, things like pharmaceutical sciences. It could include things like astronomy and say rocket science. Like, how do we say if we need to migrate somewhere or find the solutions in the solar system? This is like our play. It's like a playground that we should be using for the good of mankind. And so people like young creationists who deny the science that the New Testament demands that we should affirm and use for the glory of Jesus. Imagine if the whole world was running on the young creationist methodology. We would not be going to the moon. We would not be, investigating nature and in fact, I would, audaciously claim that we'll be back in the Dark Ages again.
Right. So maybe let me ask my first part of the question again about the manifest, what I refer to as manifest destiny. That if we want something to occur, if we will something to occur, that over time our thought process, the way we perceive this, will change in a way that conforms to what we want. In essence, do you agree with that, or do you see that as kind of thing? Or do you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But my question to you would be, what initially causes that way of thinking? Is it just me?
No, I think part of that is, if you want to call it a soul, you can. But I think part of that is the human desire to achieve
Or maybe,
self-actualization.
sorry, maybe another word should be what inspires me to do that, or what inspired the apostles to do what they did, so that I can, as a human reading that material, that seems to be cutting edge. Here's an ancient book that's cutting edge, that that appeals to the problems even that we're having today. That if we were to use that, it works even today.
And if you ask me, I would say it's self-actualization. It's a selfish goal, if you will.
Okay, no, I appreciate your comment, but I would because I know Steve is getting. I would say it's too happenstance. It's too.
Hey, you can't say I don't give you time to talk, General.
I'm kind of surprised at how Christian supremacy / Christian exceptionalism Han Solo is. I didn't realize there was this much there. You're taking history and with Christianity and trying to. It seems like you're trying to supply that if it didn't have this, we would just be a mess.
Would not have.
Yeah, I'm audaciously making that claim. Yeah.
That's not surprising.
From General, I'll say this much: you're giving me a run for my money.
I mean, the height of the Roman Empire is under a different religion, and that's arguably when human civilization was at its most stable.
Why did they take on Christianity?
It took on Christianity later when the Roman Empire was starting to fall apart.
That is a brilliant question, Nelson. Why did they take on Christianity? Here we have the top, empire of the world take on Christianity because why? I mean, if it wasn't intellectually rigorous, they wouldn't have done it.
No,
I don't know about that though.
That wasn't the reason at all.
I don't know if you make that leap there, General. I mean, you're basically saying Romans were smart, great civilization, and therefore they found Christianity and they went with it because it was like smart people.
Yes,
honestly, at the time, a lot of Romans rejected the idea of religion in the first place. As Rome was becoming increasingly atheistic.
Sorry.
No, think about it. A petty Jewish religion of a petty Jewish person named Jesus. I mean, to them, the Judaism was just stupid, and they take on this.
Now, what happened? It's got a much easier explanation. Wait, one of the emperors. There was a turmoil about emperorship. Lots of emperors were getting assassinated, and the guy that won happened to have a Christian mother in a time where Christianity was persecuted. So it's a so much easier explanation than why intellectually rigorous. It was intellectually rigorous because the emperor wanted it to be.
Why Christianity and not Apollonius? It's the same shit, essentially.
What?
Apollonius of Tyana, I think it was.
Oh, fuck off.
So basically, Christianity is like
shit.
In fact, this is going to make Steve flip. Christianity is the reason why general relativity exists.
Oh God!
You can get out of my house.
Yeah, you know what? You're drunk. Go home.
No,
General's drunk. Go home, General.
There's been ebb and flow of organization and discord through humanity's history, and a lot of stability that we have now is not because of Christianity; it's because of nuclear weapons. And stability that happened before with the Roman Empire was because of standardization and a centralization of power that was respected, and the ability to enforce that power. That's always been what's gotten stability. It's not been Christianity. Christianity has been through periods of both stability and discord throughout human history. Europe between 1400, honestly, between year 1000 and 1400, there's 400 years there of Europe just going to town on itself. Even before that, it's about 1,000 years of Europe going to town on itself, with many of them being Christian. So I wouldn't say that Christianity like rose us from the ashes out of the collapse of Rome. Christianity is arguably in part the cause of Rome's fall.
I don't know. I'd have to disagree with that, because Edward Gibbon, I don't know if you've read about the fall of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, I know, I've heard of his arguments. I don't necessarily agree with them. I think there's some merit to it, but I think it has more to do with the financial collapse of Rome rather than weakness of Christianity. Although it's a good point. But Gibbon is relatively refuted.
Oh, really?
Not necessarily on that particular point, though.
Because I thought he was. I mean, most of the stuff I've been, because I've been reading his works for a good year now.
Gibbon?
And really fascinating stuff. But
he's the problem with him is that he's like rooted in personal bias. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, well, not all I've been doing is just reading that
reading his works. Okay. His father was a huge Christian, and he was not. He hated Christianity, so his bias is all over his work. Yeah.
That's what I found interesting about what he wrote, because he wasn't a Christian, and yet what I was saying is what he was saying, that this intellectual rigor.
But he also blames Christianity is the root cause of Rome's fall, because it's a religion of weakness. And that the Germanic religion is a religion of strength, and that's why they won in the battle, like the fall of Rome. What it doesn't explain is why Christianity won later. So, like, there's a lot of problems with his perspective. I'd love for it to be true, but it's not. It's true that Christianity kind of promotes meekness and so on, and Germanic paganism kind of promotes strength and personal responsibility and all that shit, but it doesn't explain. It doesn't give any sort of superiority to the Germanic religion from that perspective, as far as history's narrative goes, because that's the point where Germanic paganism won, but later on Christianity won. It was through similar methods of being more powerful militarily. So there's an issue with Gibbon's explanation there, but polytheism was causing a fall of the Roman Empire before Christianity was introduced, and Christianity arguably saved the stability of the Roman Empire and expanded the lifespan of the Roman Empire for another 200 or so years, at least the Western Roman Empire. But still, any religion could have done that as a uniter.
So Christians were more annoying, is what you're saying, pretty much.
More what?
Annoying.
Well, Annabelle makes a brilliant observation.
I'm not really saying that either. It's a religion like any other religion in history. As far as its effect on history, it's to give it credit for the Enlightenment period is a stretch. I think that the Enlightenment period would have happened under any religion. We were on the way to it under Pax Romana, but then Rome fell. You had Commodus, which stopped all of that. And then that was just the slow but arduous journey to the fall of the empire.
And Annabelle notes that if Christianity, this would obviously include the Roman Empire back then, had to rely on the likes of Didi, Veckel, Gman Antonio et al., meaning Mr. Intelligent Design, it'd be finished within a decade. And I got to agree with her. I think that if most people were actually Christians like them, I don't see Christianity lasting to the end.
I think we can take with the benefit of the doubt that when we're talking about Christianity, you can give it its best for a minute. We're talking about people like Thomas Aquinas, etc.
Right. Exactly. And those, and the level difference is two separate things, right? I mean,
thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve, for allowing the discussion. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no, I'll give you plenty of time. I'm not like Gman was like, oh, Gman doesn't know what he's talking, or General doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's shut him down every 5 seconds. It's like, come on, really? God, I understand the highbrow theological talk that you and Ocean usually get into, but I know it's legit. I just have nothing to add to it.
Mormonism is true.
Yay.
It was all heading to that direction. That's what.
It is funny. It's like when you take any kind of religion, though. It's like, wait a minute. You believe that a carpenter was nailed to a cross and was resurrected, but you have a problem with the guy finding gold plates. I don't know. Whatever.
Hey, Steve, I was funny at one point, and I remember one of the talking points was that there's a French word in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a do. Yeah, because when what they say is that when he was translating it, there's the French word adieu it means farewell, but we'll see you again. And there was no English word that he knew that had the proper translation of what he was reading from the plates. That's their explanation. I don't know, but yeah, the word adieu is in the Book of Mormon.
Sorry, off topic.
That's fine.
And I do think, and I will agree that, a lot of intellectuals back in that day did have very, very good arguments. But I mean, even some like Pascal's wager, the original one, it was pretty flawed. I mean, even upon the first reading of it, it was kind of like,
the people that weren't too heavy in it, it made a compelling argument to them. I mean, if it got one person supposedly saved, I don't think they even cared.
No, but I mean, like, look at people like Hume and other philosophers that came around and, eventually noticed, hey, well, this argument on its base value is good, but it really kind of falls apart when you assess the basis claims that it makes.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, though, as long as they can win over hearts and minds and souls, I don't think anything else is really relevant to a lot of Christians. As longer I'm in this community, the more I realize that most theists, and I'm not saying all, but most that I run into, they're wanting to actually have truth is secondary to them convincing you what they believe is true.
But I mean, Steve, that's one of Pascal's major criticisms of Pascal's wager, is the fact that if the wager is said to be true, and a person is convinced to become Christian or convinced to that religion because of this wager, then it can be argued that the belief they have is not necessarily true. It is not necessarily,
what is evidence, though,
with that of their Lord that they're observing.
Sure, but again, we're talking about belief. If they believe it, they believe it. Right? I mean, you believe what you believe. Yeah, sure, you believe what you believe.
I mean, you can believe something because somebody has told you it, or that you're forced to believe. For the sake of it being convenient in a culture, or for the sake of, persecution.
Well, sure. I mean, I think a lot of Christians actually believe what they had to believe in order to stay alive at some times. But, I mean, look at the Inquisitions, right? I mean.
I wonder, though, how much of that was due to the culture around them, and how much of it was due to just, genuine belief. Because up till recently, I mean, people weren't really able to study the text too much. I
don't see people using Pascal's wager much of a reason as to why to believe to be theist these days.
No, but it's a common argument that's used. It's taught in philosophical.
It's also taught that it's flawed too.
Well, and it is.
Yeah.
What's more important, ideology or
well, fact? we actually have a real atheist in the room finally. Psycho. No true atheist.
What's going on? You can hear me?
We can hear you, my friend.
Hey, I'm an atheist too.
Oh, you don't identify as
Brenda's
a fucking atheist.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a fucking atheist.
She's
Psycho.
Well, yeah, Psycho's a black atheist, so he gets 2 points.
Yeah, he goes.
Yeah, he wins.
Fucking black atheist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't come around much, Psycho, anymore. What's up with that, dude?
I still pop in every now and then. I actually, I listen a lot. a lot. You do a lot of science over here, so contribute. But I'm into science, so I listen.
Did you watch my debate?
I caught some of it.
Okay,
I did catch some of it. Yeah,
it was.
I was there when you guys kept asking him to explain his for intelligence. He kept kind of dancing around it. Yeah, what was that? I think that was towards the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because now he's like, "Oh, it wasn't supposed to be about models; it's supposed to be about explanations." I'm like, "You're a retard. You're just too stupid for words, Ronnie." I mean, that's just beyond stupid. How do you make an argument for that? It wasn't about models, about explanations. Well, how do you have an explanation and not have a model? I mean, unless you want to just posit post hoc or ad hoc crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the shit we've been having to deal over here, Psycho, it's getting worse. And I think the more we take a higher approach, they'd more take a lowbrow approach, because they have gotten to the point where they will say the most asininely stupid things just to admit, just not to have to admit that they made a mistake or they fucked up or how bad Ronnie did in that debate. They don't want to acknowledge, so they have to blame it on other people like General Han Solo or something like that. That's I didn't expect. I never thought for a second that Ronnie would have a problem with the moderation after he left. That surprised me that he was like, oh, okay, let's blame General Han Solo. Not the fact that he didn't have a presentation, or that he said, oh, well, I had a presentation ready, but Steve didn't go in the direction I thought he would. Well, what the fuck does that got to do with your opening presentation? That's your own argument. It has nothing to do with mine. It's independent of mine.
Right.
So
You should just bring in new blood.
I wouldn't mind getting new dumb fucks in the community, but you know, it's hard to find good dumb fucks.
Man,
these days.
I just got Antonio's hangout earlier.
Who's?
Antonio's hangout. I got views up in there.
You did?
Antonio's got a hangout going right now?
Oh yeah.
Did you have persecution porn? Were you persecuted against for your
No. I was persecuted, if anything. It was funny. I was on the outside chat. You know, I had a show I had to do tonight at 9 o'clock, and I was listening to the hangout for a while, and I was listening to Darwin's Deity do what Darwin's Deity do, pretty much be an asshole for about 2 hours up in Antonio's hangout, right? Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah, he's professional douchebag. But yeah, I was listening to him act the fool for like 2 hours, and then he finally leaves and everything else, and then the hangout finally turns into normal, because you know he makes the whole hangout about him every time he's in there, and you know they actually in conversation, and I think Antonio made a claim about something about white privilege and what he thought white privilege was, and I actually wanted to correct him, because he made the same error that a lot of people make and thought it was only about being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. And I wanted to go in there and explain to him that's not necessarily what white privilege is. A lot of people make that mistake.
Let me see if I can. As a white guy, let me see if I can tell you what white privilege is. The white privilege. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think it has anything to do with being with a spoon in your mouth. As far as I understand, what they call white privilege, it is people that are born white don't have the problems that are inherent with somebody being black. Basically, like they're not looked at. Oh, you get on the bus and people are going, oh, he should go to the back, or they have a position in society that's normative rather than exclusive.
White people don't deal with the same challenges.
Yeah, they don't deal with the same shit, right? Yeah, that's despite the fact inherently
like you walk into the store. You walk into the store, nobody's following you around to see if you're going to steal anything.
Exactly.
You know, like you get the benefit of the
Unless
doubt.
I'm wearing a certain kind
it's
of
about
pants.
getting the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I've always heard too.
Yeah, that's how I think it is too. What does Antonio disagrees with that?
Well, he actually, his original claim was something about how does white privilege exist when Asians actually have a larger earned income throughout the nation and everything else. Exactly. And that's what I was going there to explain to him. And we was getting into a conversation about it and everything else. And then boom, here comes Darwin Deity. He jumps right back in. And he immediately dives into something I said. I think I was just making an example talking about people being prejudiced or something. And I was saying how Christians are prejudiced towards atheists. And I was just using it as an example, which is actually, I still stand by that statement. But you know, so Darwin dives in, he automatically jumps on his philosophical bullshit, wants to start breaking down this whole atheism. And I didn't go in there to even talk about that. I was just using that as an example that we was, as far as what the conversation was. So he wanted to derail the conversation and try to start pre-supping me or whatever he was trying to attempt to do.
How do
And
you
I
know? How
immediately
do you know
stopped
you?
them.
How do you know what you know? How do you know that white privilege even exists? You don't know
Exactly,
anything, Tierney.
exactly.
Yeah, I hate that.
How do you know
He
that when your
derails every
worldview and
conversation.
everything? The next thing you know, we talking about next thing you know, we talking about something completely different. So I'm
That's
like,
why you do, but that's why
before
you need to
even
stop
try
the
to derail-
conversation.
Yeah, before he even derailed the conversation, I stopped him. Was like, nope, Darwin, I don't want to talk to you. You on my troll list. I don't engage with you. Leave me alone. So I went on ahead, kept trying to talk to Carlos, and he kept trying to interrupt the conversation and make me talk to him. And I kept telling him, you're on my troll list. Back off me. Leave me alone. And then he started calling me out my name. Then I told Antonio, if he starts calling me out my name, you know how I do. I'm not against insults, but just as long as I'm allowed to throw them back. And Antonio said I could do whatever, but I didn't get a chance to do none of that because I started getting muted, hid from broadcast, then I got kicked.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here, and I've told this, and I will tell it to everybody again.
Put a link in the side chat if you would, Psycho. I want to.
Anybody who listens to this broadcast, if you're in any hangout anywhere where if Clown Car Posse has mods and Darwin's deity comes in the room, say thank you very much. This hangout is now ended. I'm leaving. And leave. Do not stick around if Darwin's comes up because
you might as well.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys this. I'm telling you straight out to say, you know what? This hangout is officially ended now that Darwin's is here, and just leave and just let him run you all off. And I guarantee it. Everybody in there and be like, oh fuck, man, we're having a conversation. Darwin's is running people off, and they're gonna fucking eventually block him or ask him not to join. So I'm telling you right now, you're in a room. Darwin's come in, just leaves. Just leave. Just say, you know what? Sorry, it's over. Darwin's is here to take over the hangout, and I'm not interested. Thank you, but bye-bye. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody should put Darwin on their troll list.
I've done it. I've said, hey, Darwin, I'm not here to engage with you.
He's on mine too. I'm not interested in talking to him anymore.
Yeah, on my troll list. I'm not here to engage with you. And they'd be like, oh, well, you just Steve, run for me in a Hangouts. Yeah, no, I'm not running. I just don't want to talk to
somebody
you.
who doesn't engage or answer questions is only interesting for so long. His time has come and gone.
Right.
Yeah, he is boring as fuck as he will not answer a single question.
That's the reason why I wanted him to win Dumb Fuck of the Year last year, because he's going to be. It's boring now. That was the height of his interesting phase.
Yeah, well, he might. I don't think he's going to win this year.
But he was a dumb fuck for the whole fucking year last year.
Yeah, well, he's been a whole dumb fuck this whole year too.
A little bit of a
no, but it's not been as impactful. Like it's boring now. It's the same shit, and it's a show that everybody's seen already. And until there's like a new generation of people that come in and start messing with him, he's going to remain boring.
Impactful.
Yeah.
Impactful.
You know what would be funny if Darwin's ever
His dumb shittery was used to be impactful, yes, because it was everywhere. There was a YouTube channel that was devoted to him as a shrine.
Oh, Darwin's had an impact in this community. Absolutely, he's had an
I was
impact.
trying to make a joke. I couldn't come up with one. It was. Never mind.
Well, he's impacted because his head's up his ass most of the time. But can you imagine if Darwin's ever popped in here? What a clusterfuck that would be. I would be like just sitting back eating popcorn as Josh comes in and Jack comes in, and just like
he would leave. He'd be like, he'd cry out to the mod, and then as soon as Jack would start to try and say something, he'd just fuck off because nobody's muting Jack and letting him run his show. He's a defensive player. He sits in his own territory, and lets other people do his fighting for him, and while he beats up the weakest possible person he can find that'll actually engage with him, but will allow the conversation to continue when he doesn't answer questions.
This is why I don't talk to him, and I can't believe that even the CCP allow it, because even they got to be getting bored of his bullshit.
But I'm amazed that he's still showing up at Hangouts. I figured he'd just be boring by now.
There were quite a number of people in the side chat at Antonio's Hangout complaining that they didn't want to go in as long as Darwin's deity was there.
Yeah.
And those were Christians. Those were, his crowd.
Yeah, because he won't let them talk either.
Yeah, they didn't want to go in.
He definitely eats his own. Guy goes after Christians like crazy.
Yeah, he attacked.
He doesn't.
I think the guy's name was Greg. Was that who he was attacking?
Gary.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't consider Gary a real Christian. I don't think he's a Quaker. So.
Oh, he's a Quaker. Oh yeah, definitely not a real Christian according to them.
Someone in the live chat said that when they hear Dee Dee's voice, Let's see. Stella Lumia says, when I hear DD's voice, I just stop watching. He's too much of a broken record. DD is so bad, he makes me miss Sty. That's just unacceptable.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. Sty was in here the other day, and we were just like, Sty.
Maybe it says Sty. Maybe you're talking about Sty 10.
We're like, Sty. We're like, Sty. You need to shut up sometimes when they're talking about science and just learn something, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and yet he thinks he does, and it's really scary. He's entertaining, but he doesn't know when to just stop and listen. Like when you guys were having a conversation just a little while ago, I stop and I'll listen because I don't know idea what the fuck, right? I can't even add to it. So I mean, it seems like Stein just wants to throw in something just to get in the conversation. I'd be like, hey, Ocean, yeah, the Babylonians and the Romans, and, they decided to jerk each other off every Tuesday on April. Did you know that? It's something completely irrelevant.
Yeah, so trying to read this damn conversion. Hold on a minute.
I'm just giving.
I've read this before, but I haven't. It's been a minute.
Well, read the second quote. And truly, our worship is no new or recent thing. You'll find it pretty interesting.
Annabelle says Gman had me in hysterics the other night, and when he yells and screams, Gman can be funny when he wants to be, but I don't think he's funny intentionally. The funniest he is when he's unintentionally not trying to be funny. That's when I find him to be funny, because he's so off the rails, just completely a lunatic, and he's trying to be serious and hard, and he comes across as a clown, and that's what I find funny.
As a quick side note, what are everybody's opinions on monism?
God, I have to look that up every single time someone mentions it. Someone give me a quick explanation real quick. I have an opinion on it, I think.
In essence, it's the concept that what we experience is only experienced because we can experience it. That reality as it is maybe doesn't exist because we're the ones that are actually perceiving it, and beyond that, we can't tell if there is a true reality, if there is anything beyond what our senses can perceive.
Sounds like solipsism for reality.
Yeah, I guess so. You want to call it that?
Ask yourself how much you're making a year. That's a good range of what your map of reality is.
Yeah, it's a true question. That's a good one.
So I was kind of curious what happened with the Psycho though. After all that, did you actually just leave? Because and by the way, how does
I didn't leave.
This conversion thing with Han Solo.
Yeah, well,
I didn't leave. Darwin got upset that I had him on a troll list and wouldn't talk to him. He just kept.
How does Antonio get so many fundamental things wrong though?
Him and Bro Joe was muting me left and right, and then they finally kicked me.
Like, I mean, if we all,
which was cool because I had a show I had to do in about 20 minutes anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But still, yeah, I got abused.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, how does he get so many things wrong? I mean, we understand certain concepts, like the white pride thing. I would think that he would just because he's into political type things. He's into talking about things. Yet he doesn't seem to have a handle on any of these concepts. GPH says, Steve, why do you allow
everything always falls back to the same thing?
How did Ocean refute the 30-point program for the National Reich Church? I have no idea. And Annabelle will time people out when she deems me to.
This was something. He's taking something that's a historical. Yeah. There's a 25-point plan for the National Socialist Party.
And I don't think it was Annabelle that timed you out. And I was paying attention. I think it was Tyler that timed you out, wasn't it? But GPS, why don't you just come in and ask? This is what I don't understand. We allow people. We're not the Clown Car Posse. Anybody can come in here and ask questions and stuff. Why don't you just come on in? Man up.
Did you choose your chat moderators?
Yeah, and I've eliminated about half of them. So if you got anybody's left who has a banner, it's one of two things. You've just basically been with me a long time and demonstrated that you're really, really good, or well, actually, that's about it. I mean, actually, I know two things. It's just I got rid of about half of my spanners.
Okay, so let me give some background to this conversion thing. if you look at a list of Roman emperors, you'll see this is going to be really boring for a second, and it's going to get more interesting, I promise you. If you start with the reign of Diocletian, and then you look at the emperors between Diocletian and Constantine, there's 4 of them. There was a point over the course of there's only like I think a 2-year difference between Diocletian and Constantine, but there's 4 emperors in between the 2 of them. There was a point where there was assassinations happening constantly, and it was a mess in Rome, and the temples in Rome were also becoming more and more decadent. This was being blamed on polytheism a lot, Roman polytheism, because it was becoming too heavy, so to speak. The Romans had a practice of adopting gods from every civilization that they bumped into and conquered, and the religion became very strange after a while. So when Constantine was watching this collapse happen, he not only did the whole religion thing with Christianity, he also moved the capital out of Rome to try and get away from the corruption as much as possible, and started a whole new city on top of Byzantium to relinquish himself away from this corruption as much as possible. So there's political implications of him moving the capital, the political implications of him restarting a new religion and trying to wash the Roman Empire clean of this corruption that was taking place that had a lot to do with religious justification of trying to take over the emperorship. Because all the Roman emperors are gods too. Everyone wants to be a fucking god. So you got political discord in Rome, like it's pure insanity after a while. So Constantine fixed that through a number of different ways. One of them was moving the capital. Another one was changing the national religion from Roman polytheism to Christianity. It was a jump start on the whole thing. Any religion would have done that. He could have done Zoroastrianism, would have worked. But he chose Christianity because of a personal connection that he has to it, which has a large part to do with his mother.
Yeah, but why?
You can talk about his personal conversion. You can believe it or not.
Well, I gave him he asked the question. I gave him a nice 300-second timeout so he can listen to your answer in total. Oceans, I hope that he did. Actually, I gave him a timeout because he's being a little bitch, but it gives him time to listen to your answer.
General Han Solo?
No.
Oh.
No, the GPH asked the question.
Oh, I don't care about GPH's question. I'm talking about Han Solo.
What's GPH then?
Oh, he asked a question, but you didn't get to it. You were answering generals instead.
Yeah, I'm talking to. I don't care about GPH. He was bitching in the side chat about the Nazi position on Christianity. I don't care.
He's a little bitch.
Like the Nazi position on Christianity is nuanced, because there's points where they're against it, and there's other points where they're for it, and they're generally in favor of freedom of religion. But he's citing stuff about how the Nazis wanted to dismantle the Bible. That was like later shit. That's
well, I mean, I don't care what you're saying until you started saying, "Oh, well, evolution." You know, it was you know, the Nazis are part
stupid.
of evolution.
It's not an interesting conversation to me. I'm interested in the conversation about Constantine.
Hey, don't you realize that Nazis are on the moon?
Of course, they're coming to get us. There's a movie documentary about it.
Yeah, I'm having a little threshold for stupidity, and
I know there was a competition between followers of Apollonius and followers of Jesus in Rome. Why did the followers of Jesus win
in Rome?
Yeah,
Constantine. He's the reason.
Well, why? Why?
Because Constantine secured emperorship, and an emperor in the emperorship of Rome, you get absolute power. That was the trend. You could overrule the Senate if you wanted to as the emperor.
But Apollonius was just one tiny individual that had no real significance. It's just the reason why we even know about it is through a hearsay of a story that we don't even have set in stone.
Wait, why is he bringing up Apollonius again? Who cares?
Yeah, we only know about Apollonius, ironically, through the Church Fathers. That's all we know about Apollonius.
Well, there's a whole book about him by a Roman. I don't know what it is.
That's centuries later.
I don't know. I was going after General Han Solo, and then Apollonius gets fucking brought up. Why?
Well, it's the same story, right?
No.
No, it's not.
A guy comes in. He gains disciples, raises from the dead.
Ocean, continue with what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
I just said that he had a personal reason and political reasons, and that's shown by the other political acts that he did that had the same goal of bringing stability to Rome. That's you think then that you believe his conversion or not. I don't care whether or not his conversion was legitimate. It fits in both cases. If he's actually like washed in this spiritual experience that he has, then fine. But the conversion that you give has context to it when he talks about how much man has fallen and everything. He's talking about religion in Rome and how messy it was. And it became a stirring pot for corruption and just general nastiness. And it's such that he even moved the capital. There was a lot of good reasons for doing what he did. It doesn't back up Christian exceptionalism, because he could have used a different religion and been fine. He would have done all the same shit.
Right. Now, that's precisely my question, though, because how he solved the whole issue is because of, like he says here in the side quote, and have been seduced by manifold errors, yet hast thou revealed a pure light in the person of thy Son. Theological ramifications involved with that. So what is Zoroastrianism can equal?
It's got, Zoroastrianism has a similar good versus evil thing where you could create a similar justification out of that and say we're following Ahura Mazda and we hate the Troon. And it would have been the same thing. It was...
I mean, we're talking about intellectual reasons and like, things like the Logos. Like, does that religion even have the same type of quality of
Does it have all the same beliefs? No, obviously it's a different religion, but it is a religion that has in history afforded stability to great empires, multiple great empires.
Well, and also remember, parts of Zoroastrianism were incorporated in Christianity as well.
That's another... God, why are you... Oh, is it... Okay, no, wait, there's two people doing this crap. God.
Why are you so patient? I don't get it.
Well, no, because it's another path. Like it's another whole conversation when you start talking about the influences into Christianity.
Right, but it's also like it's both non sequitur and probably historically bullshit. Like there's the influences with Zoroastrianism into Christianity there's 2 points with the influence that it might have had over the Jews. It isn't really justifiably. There's not enough evidence to really do anything conclusive with that. And then another area with Constantine's prior religion being something that's related to Zoroastrianism. Not Constantine, sorry, Augustine's prior religion being something that's related to Zoroastrianism. And I forget what it's called. It starts with an M. You know what I'm talking about, General?
What, another person with an M?
It's another. No, it's Augustine's. His religion prior to Christianity. It was. It starts with an M. I forget what it is.
I know he's African, and he has some form of African prior religious.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I forgot the name, but
it's heavily related to Manichaeism.
In fact, he has a hilarious statement. He says he says that Yahweh is an African god. He actually says that.
He's really weird, Augustine. There's all kinds of problems that resulted from him, but it's mostly beside the point. But he's part of. He's weird. Anyway, so but he's after Constantine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, he's weird.
Kind of beside the point. So the Zoroastrianism influence, the major Zoroastrian influence into Christianity through Augustine happened after Constantine. Anyway, it's fucking side conversation. This is the reason why I don't want to jump into this shit, because it's usually based on conspiracy theory history, and it's not really worth chasing down too much. Plus, it starts a whole different conversation. But where were we? Fucking general shit. We're talking about Zoroastrianism would have So Zoroastrianism as a religion that brings stability to an empire is something you can demonstrate through the multiple times that it worked with Persian empires, from Darius's great Persian Empire all the way to the Sassanids, which would be around the time when Rome was falling after Christianity. Like it was present at the time. There was precedence for it. It could have been used. It could have even been used not only to unite the Roman Empire, but to unite the Roman Empire with the Persian Empire and create a whole new great empire. But that's not what happened.
It was the damn Irish.
Fucking Jesus, Jewish religion shit comes in and fucks it all up. Fuckers.
I disagree.
Okay, I mean, it could have been a uniting religion. It wouldn't. It had this similar cultural impact at the time. This wasn't really huge. It was a more fringe religion that was being brought in to being the major religion of the time. It was even banned, I think, twice before Constantine came into power. And Zoroastrianism, I don't think ever was. It's just like, oh, there's one of those Persians.
I read somewhere that the disciples of Apollonius and the disciples of Jesus actually fucking used to fight on the street.
Oh no. No, that never happened.
That never happened?
Apollonius had like no following.
He didn't?
What is it with people finding these like fringe Messiah-like figures? And what often is funny to me is when people find figures that are Messiah-ish or Messiah-like, is that they start adding in shit on top of what they did to make them more like Jesus. As the thing with Horus is hilarious, as it's nothing like his legends at all. Dionysus is similar.
Yeah,
I think that the thing with Dionysus, the only thing they have in common is that they turn water into wine once. So,
well, Jesus was born from a rock, like Mithra.
Jesus wasn't born from a fucking rock. Did you read the first part of the gospel? Like, there's two birth narratives in there, and they both have him coming out of a woman.
But a lot of these mythicists come up with these crazy ideas.
No, there's some crazy fucking Gnostic Christians out there that'll say that Jesus wasn't even a man. He was just a hallucination that everybody was having. It was a spiritual experience that was had en masse.
A little kid, yeah.
There's also Gnostics that'll say the universe doesn't exist.
So I think that's Mr. Intelligent Design, right?
No,
God, fuck. Don't bring him up.
I'm just listening to the Radish thing here.
The Radish?
Yeah. I've got two headsets in right now, one in one ear, one in the other.
Oh.
In the other ear, I'm listening to him explain the radishes wanting more sunlight.
Oh, fuck. Just stop. Spare me, please.
Yeah. I haven't yet got to the part of anybody's reactions, but
it gets better because I jump in and ask Gman the question of how is it that I'm able to interact with Edgar, and you're saying that what he's saying is way over his head.
Yeah,
you have to watch it. It gets funny.
I was doing other things this evening, and then I saw this hangout, so I went back and watched the beginning of it, and just hysterical laughter. So I downloaded Theistic Evolutionist, Bring It, and just picked a random place to start listening to, but I haven't yet heard their reactions.
So hold on, who's commenting about the radishes?
Watch the very last moment of that hangout. The very last moment of that hangout with Gman talking about how, Mr. Intelligent Design is just on a whole nother level. It's fucking hilarious. Like, I had to mute myself. I was laughing. It's just like, this is ridiculous. I talked to him a little bit afterwards. I was trying to get him to explain it. He was basically begging a question.
Oh, that's it?
Lightly pointed out during the hangout, but then afterwards I just had like a 10-second conversation. Oh, okay, that's what you're doing.
I just picked I managed to grab the last, just move the slide to the last 5 minutes, and I heard General Han Solo say something about, well, Gman and true empiricism don't even understand it. And then true empiricism jumps in to be like, why would you put in my name to say I don't understand it? I understand what he's saying. Anyway.
That's when I wish General had asked, well, then please explain it to us.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah. In fact, I did. No, I did ask TE. I was like, TE, can you repeat what Edgar was saying? What's his model? And he completely said something totally different to what Edgar was saying.
Yeah, it didn't say anything that was even similar.
Because no, that's right. Hogtie, TE Ronnie said, "Oh wow, that's a brilliant. That's a brilliant. What did he say, Ocean? That's a brilliant point, Edgar."
Yeah, that's a brilliant point, or there's a lot of brilliant points here that are being brought up, and I want to explore this further.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. I want to see TE interview this guy and just try and understand his point. And I want to see the fallout from that, from when TE decides to be like, you know what, I'm going to employ these arguments against atheists now.
And then I asked, I'm telling Steve in the outside chat, I was like, Steve, what happens when the day comes when Gman and T are using Mr. Intelligent Design's arguments? And so Steve is like, plants don't grow in the dark. Therefore, design is intelligent. So Steve titles this discussion, "The amount of stupidity with the Clown Car Posse has reached critical mass."
Yeah, it's alarming.
Nuclear fission.
Yeah. Yeah, bad arguments. It's funny too because that group, I mean the evangelicals, they claim ownership of the word discernment, right? Like you know what I mean? Like to them, discernment is something that only a Bible-believing Christian can have.
Hey, if I find it, if I queue it up, can somebody play that part where Ronnie had said, hey, that's a really, really excellent, brilliant, whatever point? Because I want somebody to play like the 34 seconds of what
it's
I was saying.
Download the video. It's about 30 minutes from the end.
Yeah, I can't play. My audio doesn't go through.
I can play through. I'm only here for a few minutes, but I just don't know where.
It's about 40 minutes in, I guess.
Well, it's funny because this goes back to exactly the same thing I was saying the other day when we were talking about like when Von Helton jumped into the room, Gman's room, and started talking about fucking reptilians and all this other shit, and it's like, oh, evolutionists can't solve the reptilian problem, and nobody in the room is saying, what the fuck are you talking about, reptilians? Like, no one's calling them out on this shit. They're just like smiling and nodding. It's like, oh yeah, you got a good point. Because like, what the fuck are these guys? Like, they're idiots.
And when multiple personality started laughing when Edgar was explaining his model, Antonio's like, come on, man, be respectable.
Oh, yeah. He's trying to like condense all this really complicated, complex stuff.
They're like right there with him. That's what the funny thing about it.
Yeah, it's almost it's funny because that's the part when I said, I just picked a random place. That's almost exactly a half hour left in the hangout. And yeah, I heard it. And actually, I think MP had said something like, is this guy, is he serious? Like, is this a joke? And he was laughing, right? And then Antonio goes, come on, man. Like, are you serious? I think almost echoing exactly what MP had said, but he was asking MP in a scolding way, like, are you seriously going to say that about that guy? He's like, wow.
MP realized what the shit was happening about the same time that I realized what the shit was happening, but I like listening to the crazy. So when MP lost it, I was just like, God damn it, I'm thinking that too, but I want to hear the crazy. You're getting in the way of my show. So I was kind of glad that Antonio jumped in there, but I also thought it was really funny that he responded so protectively of
these are the same guys that will scold General Han Solo for using the Bible to support his beliefs. But you have fucking Mr. Intelligent Design come in there and they're like, just starts fucking rambling shit off, and all of a sudden he's like, he's on a whole new level.
Yeah. In fact, that's exactly what I was about to say, Sokka. That I was trolled. I mean, Steve knew I was trolling. I was trolling trolling Edgar because I know his argument. I know the whole like 1 divided by 1 equals 1, and that means it's a natural and all that. Gman and TE and all those other guys, they don't know what he's talking about. So the so-called heretic, the so-called non-Christian in the room, which is me, I'm actually engaging and having Edgar go, yeah, you're on the right track, yeah. And then G-Man comes in and is like, oh man, I'm totally lost. I don't know what he's talking about. And then he actually tells Edgar, you're way beyond, our level. Apparently TE wants to interview him on his channel to present the model.
I cannot wait.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
I'm trying to find where that happened. I'm about 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes in, so it has to be somewhere around that ballpark. So if somebody else can help me narrow it down, because I want that played. It's too good to pass up. When I even told General, I said, General, dude, get him to reiterate what you just said. Get him to say what the hell he just has agreed to, saying is a brilliant point. And he starts going off on, evolution can't produce evolutionary changes. I'm like, what the fuck did that have to do with anything that Edgar was saying?
When Mr. ID came into the room, Ronnie was like, hi, Mr. ID, but he spelt it H-I-G-H. And this is why I was laughing with Steve. I was like, hey, Steve, yeah, Mr. ID is high.
Yeah.
They don't.
My favorite.
As I say, they don't think evolution or like relativity are actual models, but they think that Mr. Intelligent Design is onto something. Bizarro world.
General wasn't here earlier when I jumped in, but I just want to say, like, my favorite part of that hangout still was the whole is like, well, evolution's been falsified. Just like, well, how? Just like, well, I brought this up before as part of my argument, because they found dinosaur dung with grass in it, 15 million years before they thought that grass was around. And well, how does that falsify evolution? Well, because they said it couldn't be there. Well, who said that? Well, they did. They said that. It's like, well, can you show us where they said this? Well, the evolutionists have been saying this. It's like, okay, well, show us where they're saying this. It's like, listen, it's a thing. It's a thing that evolutionists say that it couldn't happen. It happened. This is exactly the same thing as finding a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a human in its mouth. It's like, no, because actually here's all these other papers that show that we have evidence of grass going back farther than that, and we knew it was going to be there, and all this other stuff. It's like, well, no, because they said it couldn't be there. I think that was his argument. Like, fucking well done, true.
Yeah, what does that even mean? You have to give the processes of what they can evolve into.
Yeah, I'm stabbing around to look for that thing that Steve was asking.
I know it's got to be sometime after like 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes.
Okay. Well, that was the thing. I'm just stamping around, and that's about the 2:10 mark, and that sentence pulled from its context doesn't make sense. Ronnie says you have to give. It was one of those things. He says, like, you can't just sit over here and do whatever. He always uses that expression, but you have to give the processes of what they can evolve into. And taken from its context, it doesn't make any sense. But I can assure you, in context, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, yeah, in any context.
Yeah. So trying to parse out that sentence, it means they're evolving into processes. You have to give the processes of what they can evolve into. Like in that whole little speech, it's a typical, it's so much better when you type it out. Hey, that David Pakman show has been doing that for Donald Trump speeches, right? Where somebody asks them a question and then they type out the transcript and show you the words on the screen and show you just like, you think Donald Trump sounds bad. You got to read what he speaks. And I thought that's funny because we've been doing that with Ronnie for almost 2 years now.
It's almost like adding insult to injury, though, when you do that. It's bad enough we have to hear it, but then you have to salt our eyes by having to read it too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I started reading Rational Mind's transcript of the debate, and it was, oh man, like I listened to the whole thing, and it was pretty bad. But you're right, reading it back, I'm like, holy, how can this get worse? How can this get worse?
But it is. It really is. Reading it is even worse. I read it too. I was like, really? Because I was like, wow, it was worse. I mean, I was listening to it intently. I was taking notes, but
there was times where like he'd go through and there'd be like 2 paragraphs. It probably took him 45 seconds to say, and you realize that in that 45 seconds, he has not said anything. Nothing. Like there's no there's nothing. It was just empty words.
He's kind of like empty calories, you know. You could eat as much as you want; it's not going to do much to you. It's just he has no substance whatsoever. You can go on and ramble for like an hour, and then if you asked anybody, "What the hell you just say?" Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. What's funny, because this is a common accusation that he throws at everybody else. You know, he whenever he talks about a conversation he has with the atheists or the evolutionists, he'll say, "Yeah, oh, and basically they didn't know what to say. There were these long, awkward pauses." Like, what? But by the way, when in a hangout have you ever heard a long, awkward pause? And people are always just scrambling because they know a long, awkward pause. They're just not knowing what to say, and I refuted all the points. Well, basically, he never really brought any points. That's like Ronnie's biggest go-to rebuttal, is that the other person never really brought any points. And yet, I mean, Ronnie can talk, but you just listen like, what the fuck did he say? And by the way, I think this thing with this one tonight is kind of interesting. You know, I'm just stabbing around, listening to little bits of it, and just hearing your guys' retelling of it and your kind of your enthusiasm for what happened. There's a lot of people are asking too, like, why, you know, if Ronnie really is this dopey, like just he has no substance and he just doesn't have a basic understanding, then what's the fascination? Like, why do we still talk about him? And in my view, if he was just a solo crazy person, it would be amusing for a little bit of time, but then we just wouldn't care. I think the thing, at least for me, the thing that I find so fascinating is to listen to somebody talk like he talks and say the things he says and get all the things he gets wrong. And then to look over and see that there are 5 or 6 guys who are like, oh yeah, Ronnie sure gave him both barrels. And I think we're seeing the same thing. Like, how dumb, like how uninformed can a person be and still be revered as an expert by that group? Like, is it possible that a person could be so clued out about how the world works that they actually don't even know the Pythagorean theorem, for example, and have all those people just sit around and well he's holding court explaining something, and have those people just go like, wow, this guy's really got it going on. And maybe that's the fascination with Edgar, right? Is that you go like, these people actually think he's got something to say. Like, I wish I could disguise my voice, you know, and come up with like time cube or something. Some of the bolt back shit, whatever. They'd be like, "Wow, that's some deep shit." You know, I'll just throw in a bunch of like
get the Deepak Chopra generator and go in there.
Well, as long as you have to you have to add something to time cube or add something to Deepak Chopra generator. You have to add in that atheists are stupid and they're evil and they love their sin and they always lie. You have to have some anti-atheist thing. You could go in with fucking time cube. If you're a time cube supporting atheist hater, you would be in with those guys.
You're accepted. Yep. Yeah, that's true though. That's just, they don't care about anything else. That's their litmus test, isn't it? If you hate atheist, you're in.
Hey, Hogda, do you still get invites to Antonio's Hangouts? Oh, Hogda, you still there?
Oh, what? Sorry, that's what
you still get to. Do you still get invites to Antonio's Hangouts?
Not really. Yesterday I sent him a message saying, "So what's up?" Like, yeah, and then he sent me a link. I don't know what's up. I know that, as I said, I've been tipped off that they've been sharing amongst each other that, you know, Hogtie's a snake in the grass and all this other stuff. So I'm a little worried that there's actually some uptake to that message. But,
well, because I've messaged them a couple times, been like, you know, hey, you know, what's going on? Get a link, whatever. Yeah, never responds, never sends me anything, and it's always
that's almost reassuring. That's almost reassuring, because then I think what he's doing is he's saying it's I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it when I think like, well, that's funny because Antonio and I usually get on well. I know we have some disagreements about recent events, like the lie telling thing. He's much more supportive of the evangelicals' behavior than I am, obviously. But we both are big fans of kind of improving the conversation and having actual topics to discuss and sticking to the topics, right?
What, so you're saying about the Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay, then if that was the case, why he's blocked everybody? Why he's literally limiting his conversations to people that agree with him?
Yeah, I don't know. See, and that's what I'm thinking.
Personality in, but other than that, he has completely blocked anybody that has a challenging view to him. He blocked so many people in his live feed the other day. It was ridiculous, including Jade.
We were in the I was watching his thing today, and I can't remember what Darwin presented a false dichotomy, and it was what was it? Yeah, it was either God exists and there are more objective moral facts, or God doesn't exist and there aren't objective moral facts. And I think multiple personality was in there. I think it was MP there that was talking about this. Like, well, that's not a really that's a false dichotomy. And they're like, well, how is it a false dichotomy? And I was typing in the external chat to that. I'm going to say, listen, either God exists or God doesn't exist is a dichotomy. Either objective moral facts exist or objective moral facts don't exist is a dichotomy. But when you add them together with the quantifiers, you no longer have a false dichotomy. And Arcane's in there in the chat as well. He's just like, Sokka is just a known troll. Just ignore him. And I'm like, well, what did I say that was wrong? And then Antonio pops in. He's like, Arcane, you have mod privileges now. And then, Sokka account message deleted. You can't post anymore. I'm like, fuck you.
Sorry, in that presentation of false dichotomies and conjoined disjoints, did you use the N word? Is that what happened?
No, but you think I had? Yeah, but it was real quick, just like fucking, Arcane, here's your spanner, great, and then fucking, blocks me from saying anything, and then goes on to badmouth me about how much of a troll I am for pointing out a really like disputed fact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just
I can't imagine anybody saying that they're for open dialogue and then literally bans, half the people, if not more. Come on, that's not open dialogue.
Yeah. Well, I think Antonio's sort of tugged from two sources. I think he wants to fit in with his brothers, and I think that like how would you feel in his position, where some of the peer pressure that gets on you is coming from Gman and DD? Like, these are not people who can be reasoned with.
Well, I wouldn't be a dumbass for the first place to care.
Well, that's the choice that people have to make. That's the choice that people have to make, right? You take a look at Shani for Christ, for example, right? She just looks at the Bible and prays, and and she's like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And if G-Man likes it, that's great. If G-Man doesn't, well, there's some people in the world, if you tell them it's my way or the highway, they say, okay, where's the highway? I'm off.
But Antonio is a submissive person. I mean, he's a little bitch. Yeah. He doesn't have any balls. He goes whichever way they go. I mean, look at the way Darwin's treats him. He is a bitch made, and I have no respect for these guys that won't man up for themselves. I mean, I've just once Antonio would just be like, hey, Dee, this is my fucking room. I don't want to talk about this shit. We do it all the time because you come in here and start to precept and we're having a conversation. Get the fuck out and kick him out. I would have a little bit more respect for him. I do it. I kicked out fucking Rumpus the other day. I never heard the end of it, but I did. Right? I mean, you have to sometimes go, you know what? Love you, but this is not the time and the place for this kind of a ranting or raging or whatever.
Why'd you kick him out? Rumpus?
Because I asked him numerous times, stop going after Annabelle in the room. The topic's talking about something, and all he did was keep on muting, going, "Oh, Annabelle, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Rumpus, stop it, okay? That's nothing. We're not. It just isn't here. You're not here to freaking, bitch after Annabelle when we're talking about something else. I don't want to hear it." And he just wouldn't stop. And finally, I said, "Fuck it," I kicked him.
Fucking Annabelle is just some kind of lightning rod. Like, I'm just surprised how many people are. Annabelle's in the live chat. Well, yeah, so what? I mean, it's hard when you're in the room with somebody. I don't mean her, but if there's somebody you have a frictious, interpersonal thing going on, it's hard because there's only so much airtime. But then person's typing in the live chat. They're typing in the live chat. Who gives a shit? I've never seen the problem, but yeah, at some point, again, you're hanging out when you say we're not, like, whatever the story is between you two, we're not. That's not what we're talking about today. Right. At some point, you got to just boot somebody. But it's weird. And
but see, I actually hit them both in podcast at one point, even though she's on a phone, so I couldn't actually hide her, but I attempted to. And I'm like, look at guys, we're talking about this. I don't want to hear you guys bickering. And it wasn't really Annabelle. She was defending herself a little bit, but it was Rumpus just throwing in his typical British going after her because he doesn't like her, I guess. I'm like, Rumpus, not the time and the place. Don't care. Not interested. So you have to make a decision. And she says I wasn't being fictitious. Yeah, no, Annabelle wasn't doing anything wrong. Honestly, it was just she was just talking in a hangout. Matter of fact, I don't even know what the hell the subject even was, but she was engaging in it. And then Rumpus is just like, oh, well, blah, 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 Annabelle, goddamn, Annabelle, you're just a mean fucking bitch, Annabelle, kind of shit. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it just got to the part where, again, I'm just stepping around sort of randomly, but there's some discussion about, because people start to interrupt Edgar after a while. I just get the impression like he's got a lot of, as I'm stepping through it, I see, if you click randomly, you're going to land on an Edgar moment, because he uses up a lot of airtime in this hangout.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, like somebody interrupts, and then Drew Empiricism comes in, and he's like, oh wait, like it's clear he's doing some presentation, like we need to see, he's got all this stuff prepared, and like we need to see this presentation. These are the same people that are like, oh, you should be disqualified from debate if you prepare something, but he's showing up at a hangout with a presentation. And these are the same people who bitch out General Han Solo for screen sharing scripture, right? Like don't show me any books, I don't want to.
That happened again tonight, where it was they were he was trying to make an argument. General Han Solo was making an argument with something. He's like, okay, well, if you look at my screen, and G-Man said, he's just like, listen, on my channel, I have a no PowerPoint rule. That's what G-Man said.
Except for Edgar's
no PowerPoint rule. Who the fuck has a no PowerPoint rule?
Yeah. Well,
what the fuck?
There's a time and a place. Like, I don't know if you saw the other day, and it was I'd mentioned like, okay, if somebody else is setting up a hangout, let me know, because we're going off air. And then it was like, I was feeling like you kind of get that zone where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna wait for the next lull in conversation and take us off air. And right when the next lull came, General Han Solo piped up with, oh, there's one thing I want to show you. Here, let me read this to you. And then I just see on my screen this wall of text, right? And I don't know how much of it he's going to read. That's the thing. Like, a lot of times with General Han Solo, he's going to read 2 sentences, or sometimes he's got 4 or 5 paragraphs to read. And I'm like, okay, so how long does this go? Oh, I can do it in 4 minutes. And I can't remember, I told him, I said, well, you can do it in 1 minute or something. He goes, well, I suppose I can do it in 2. And I'm like, oh, you're haggling. Okay, 30 seconds, go. Like, because, but that's the thing, is that you got to do it with good spirit. But sometimes when you're moderating, you got to say, like, no, I'm not going to impose this on my audience right now. But that's not, you don't invent a rule and pretend it's a hard and fast rule and then turn around and break it for somebody else.
Special pleading.
Yeah.
I wish I could find out where this part is where he says that's a really good point, or brilliant point, or whatever, and General asked him to kind of paraphrase it. I know it's somewhere around here. I just can't find the exact spot.
Oh, that one. Well, that was at the 210. Go to 209 or 210 in there somewhere.
I'm at 207, so let's see. 1 sec.
Yeah, let her go from about there. And again, like I say, I a lot of times it's there's a time and a place, right? And that it's too that when you tell General Han Solo, if you tell him like, no, we're not really, like if he's got something to say, and it's like, okay, yeah, take 5 minutes, whatever, however long it's going to take you to get through that, read that, give us your extra thoughts on it, see if people have questions. You want to kind of give them the spotlight for a while. But if you tell them just politely, like, no, we're not, let's not do this, then he'll say, because at one point he says, oh, well, here, let me just read the last paragraph then. And I know he wasn't able to sort of flesh out put as much meat on the bone as he'd wanted to, but he didn't get upset. He didn't be like, oh, that's not fair. He just went, oh, okay. Oh, I see. Well, fine. Just let me read out the last paragraph. I think I can make the point from that. He's very flexible. He's easy to work with that way.
Yeah, you're right. If you want to play it around like 207 something or other to like 210, it's like 3 minutes or something like that. I'm okay with that as long as it's not the videos, just the audio. But if you guys want to listen to this, and listen very carefully to what Edgar says, if write it down if you have to, because it's not very coherent. But then listen to what Ronnie says he thinks he's saying, and you tell me if there's any correlation there. Because I was gonna make a transcription of this, but we could do it here. But can you play it?
I'm just trying to find the part you're talking about. So I'm at 207:15 right now.
Yeah, that's fine. Because that's where Edgar talks about 2 minutes. So give him about 2 minutes of him talking or so, whatever it is, and then Ronnie says about 209.
Okay, so we're just at this point then coming out of of Edgar speaking. I'm sorry, G-Man saying something. I didn't quite catch what he said, but we're just coming out of G-Man here, and Edgar starts speaking here.
Okay, so everybody in the live feed listen very closely.
Evolution, Father. The reason why are so confident that macroevolution and microevolution is part of the reality, because they don't have any categorization of any processes or any acts. They just don't care. In other words, if I'm going to make if I'm going to explain the earth is made of something or anything, they just mix everything. So the best way for us, so if we don't use intelligence to categorize non-intelligence to intelligent, we will be forced to follow biological evolution. I think we need first, as a Christian, as a scientist, as a person, as a human being, to identify which X are supposed to be designed.
Just to interrupt briefly, so we're at 2:08:20, and this is when Ocean just appears on the film strip.
Which processes that are not supposed to be designed. We need to have that categorization. That's actually a really good point.
Okay, so he just said that was a really good point, and yet I can guarantee it, not a single person in this audience will be able to tell me what the hell he just said. Because I listened to that 4 times, and I still probably would be very hard pressed to come up with a coherent sentence that I could probably put a summation in of all the things that he was talking about. He went from like micro, macro to scientist to biology to accepting evolution, but it was nothing. I mean, do you want to give it a shot, Hogtie? Do you want to give an idea what the hell Edgar said in that?
No, I'm going to admit I wasn't giving it my full attention because I sort of I'm kind of familiar with Edgar's. I just never feel like there's even a thread to grab onto, and
right. Yeah, there's nothing latched onto there. But listen to his explanation of what he thought Ronnie said, or excuse me, what he thought Edgar said when Ronnie talks.
Okay, resuming it. I'm just backing up about 10 seconds.
X are supposed to be designed. Which processes that are not supposed to be designed. We need to have that categorization. That's actually a really good point. In the camp of creation, for example, Kent Hovind answer in Genesis, when they are trying to present their ideas in science, they didn't have any classification. They can categorize.
I told you this dude was awesome.
You know what? I think I'm gonna have a video, and I'm just gonna end it like that. That's gonna be. I told you this dude was awesome. Yeah, Antonio. Oh my god.
Wow.
This is so bizarre a world. I swear to God that they think this is what's considered to be something of substance. I have people like Landon Knoll on, who for like 2 hours gave us a brilliant interview. I mean, it was just amazing. And they're probably like thinking, "That this guy's an idiot," and yet here they have Mr. Intelligent Design. They're just propping up as, I told you he was amazing. Oh my God. Fuck my life, people.
Give you a few more seconds of it, or?
Well, I think it's like another minute before he actually gets to the point where he tries to give his opinion on what he was saying, because they talk for a while. Then Jen will ask, hey, Ronnie, can you tell me what you're agreeing with there? And Ronnie's like, yeah, he's just saying that, there's no evolution of evolution or something. It's like, what the hell? I didn't even understand what Ronnie was even saying, more or less, Mr. GPT. Mr. Intelligent Design. Hey, hunting dogs.
Steve?
Yes?
Listening to the little bit that Hogtie just played, it sounds like they're just going through the motions of having a conversation.
Yeah, they're so not even talking past each other. They're talking in opposite directions because neither one of them have fucking any clue what the other person's saying.
Yeah, there's
I'm even beyond that. I'm just saying they're pretending to have a conversation. At this point, you would say, well, that's a very good point, because that's what you say once someone's brought up a point. It's irrelevant what they've actually said if it's complete nonsense and babble.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's just it's a cut and paste conversation, and that's all they're doing.
Yeah, they're not listening to each other. They're not understanding each other because there's nothing to be said between each other. Edgar could have said anything at that point, and I think, like you said, he would have cut and pasted in that. Oh, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Hunty Dog, you like to join us here?
I think Ronnie might be using a Ronnie soundboard.
What are you guys talking about?
Oh, we're talking about the hangout that Gman had just a little while ago.
I can't really comment because I didn't really watch it.
You don't watch Gman stuff? I like you already.
No, you have a life.
I haven't really had a chance to watch a lot of his stuff. I've seen him plenty of times on G+, but I haven't really had a chance to. Was he making any claims or anything? Or
when's he not making claims?
Well, I think it's kind of funny in this particular time. He actually said, yeah, he didn't know what the hell was going on. And I think he did that just in case. I think he did it just in case Edgar turned out to be a total nut job. He could distance himself from that because it was getting to the point where even the CCP was like, yeah. But except for Antonio, he still thinks that Edgar's the shit. But hey, if they want to make Edgar the new science go-to guy, that's fine with me. Poor Ronnie. Somebody who's more confused about science than Ronnie is. But if you could find that one part where he paraphrases what he said, that's fine too. But I think it's like a minute or two down the line, so you don't have to like the whole thing.
It seemed to be getting close. I know. Here's the suggestion. Let's make a date.
True. Yeah, Mr. Intelligent Design. If you want to, I can start a hangout for the two of us to talk about some of this stuff because I think you're making some pretty good points right now. Okay. So, did you want to do that? I know you've been wanting to talk about this for a while.
you baited all. He's like CCP is going to get a new science mascot.
What's that?
He's like CCP is going to get a new science mascot. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they got the brain. They got the brain trust over there.
Can I ask a question to you? Yeah, we're all Christian. Just forgive. Yeah, just go. General ask.
General, you gotta. Okay, go ahead, General.
Okay, thanks. So when you said what he said was a very good point, could you repeat exactly what was the good point he was making?
Pause.
Can I repeat the good points that he made?
Yeah, you can repeat the
question for more pause to think about the answer.
Things the right way. You can't just sit over here and say that evolution can change into anything. You got to explain the processes and what they can evolve into, or give some sort of demonstration of what they can, what their abilities are. To me, I mean, what can't evolution do? What can it do? What tests can we put together to demonstrate that they
can't put feathers on a fish?
That answer was as dumb as the fucking statement that Edgar was trying to say. I mean, they're not, like Pseudo said, they're not even having a conversation at this point. There's no correlation between anything these people are saying. There's no meshing whatsoever. It's surreal, and yet they're buying it as an actual conversation. We could be putting things in a word generator and it make more sense. And matter of fact, and I'll bet you damn money, Hogtie, I swear to God, if Edgar would have came in there and said, yeah, I'm an atheist and I want to show you guys why intelligent design is wrong, and he would have said the exact same freaking things, they would have been like, oh, that makes no sense. You're just an idiot.
Yeah, Ronnie would be saying, you can't just sit over here and say that design and,
processes and mechanisms.
Yeah.
How did Ronnie become an ID?
I don't know. I know he used to be a pastor, or he wanted to be a youth pastor in church or something.
Oh, God.
Well, no, hang on. All these guys make that claim about how, oh, well, I've been, and they really want me to teach. They really want me to preach all over these places. And like, this is part of the culturing in the church, right? You get to a certain age, there's just stuff to do. And, reflect on being in the Boy Scouts or a 4-H club or anything like that. Like there's, you start to take on a bit more of a leadership role within your little youth group, and then they want you to help, like, take out the garbage, like, they're not grooming you to be the head of the church.
Well, that's not how Ronnie puts it, though.
They give you a piece of paper to go read in front of all the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
No,
you're right.
sure
Maybe they let you take the garbage out. You show up early and help set up the chairs.
No, I think he would have been this more of the special needs class.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for playing that, because I mean, like I said, I wanted to make a little cutout about that, but
yeah, well, that's what you'll find that they're starting about a little after the 2-hour mark, about 2:07 or so. But it's interesting because I mean, what Ronnie said is gibberish, and where it is intelligible, he's wrong. Like he's making the claim that what can't evolution do? That basically the evolutionary
put
theory.
feathers on a fish, like you said.
Yeah, can't put feathers on a fish. Yeah, and that's like they just don't get the basic idea of falsification, right? I mean, it's so bizarre. Or I'm not going to repeat this because we talked about this before in your other hangouts. But this idea of a necessary, like a prediction that flows necessarily from the theory itself, and the age of grass just doesn't fit in that sort of necessary prediction thing. But that taxonomic separation, like the fact that they say you can't put feathers on a fish, or the ordering of ancient and modern fossils, right? I mean, those things are sort of mission critical when it comes to the common ancestry component. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's like, oh, you can't falsify it. And then he'll turn around and say, well, it's been falsified because there was grass in, I forgot which, it was one of the sauropods.
Yeah, some dung.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like, that's
because he doesn't understand it. It's so comical that something so simple that anybody that could look at this go, okay, yeah, they just moved it back a little bit, big deal, as compared to something going, oh well, yeah, we had a human born today, and he was consisting of plant cell walls.
Yeah,
or something,
I mean, I remember my point was that all that stuff that Ronnie said was gibberish, and as much as it was intelligible, it was wrong. But it was Ronnie's gibberish. He was asked to paraphrase what Edgar had said, and it's not even close. Like, you listen to what Edgar said. Yeah, and I did back up, because you were saying something in the middle there, and that, even though I wasn't paying attention for a sec, because I actually went back and played the part that Edgar was saying, and I still don't really track on what his meaning is. I mean, he's talking about categorization and. But it was just like, then Ronnie stated Ronnie's opinion. It wasn't a paraphrase in any way of what Edgar said. It just showed no understanding of what Edgar was talking about. Not that he's to be faulted for that, but
right. that's the funniest part. I can't fault Ronnie for not understanding what Edgar says, but how could you say, "Oh, that's a good point," and then say something completely, utterly, not even remotely related to what Edgar was saying as the reason why you said it was a good point? It's just bizarre again. Bizarre world.
How are you guys doing?
I'm tired. I got a headache from these fuckers, to be honest with you. It really hurts. It really does.
I'm going to have to bait her shortly. But by the way, I just played a little bit more, and Edgar does confirm that Ronnie pretty much had it exactly right.
I know, and that's just to add insult to injury, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, come on, Edgar. You could have gone. You almost could have gone and definitely. Hey, so Edgar, can you paraphrase what Ronnie just said? And he'll be talking about something. Like, again, you can't make this shit up. That's why I love these guys over here, because it's comedy gold. It really is. And I would love to hear that discussion with him and Mr. GP, or goddamn it, Mr. Intelligent Design tomorrow, or whenever their hangout is. I mean, that's just going to be epic. The dumb leading the dumber. Oh, Jade said it's the Titanosaur. By the way, in case anybody cares. It was the Titanosaur poopy. But he honestly thinks that something like that would falsify the entire theory of evolution. That's how dumb he really is. He's not that much smarter than a flat earther, I'm telling you.
Yeah, they're quite a bunch.
It hurts sometimes, though. I mean,
okay.
What's the matter, Pseudo?
Guys can't even read the fucking article. I just Googled grass and dino poop.
Yeah.
And National Geographic This is right on the Google search page. Okay, from 2005. Ancient pieces of plant minerals have offered up the first evidence that dinosaurs ate grass. So did they find grass? Or the remnants of grass?
Well, semantics.
Still.
But even still, what does that have to do with the debate topic that we had? He was supposed to give evidence of why intelligence design is a better model. Did anybody ever hear him give any evidence of why intelligence design is a better model?
No, he didn't describe a model, or I did. He brought some evidence, but I've been thinking about whenever there's a trial, like so serious issues are on the table, not just who's on the internet arguing about stuff, but you don't go to trial and just have like a mystery box full of evidence that the other party doesn't know, right? There's examinations for discovery, and there's disclosure that has to be done.
Dude, if he would have asked me, I'll tell you what's funny is if he would have asked me about my presentations, I wouldn't have lied to him. I would have told him exactly. I would have said, "You want to see my presentation? I don't care."
Yeah. Well, I wonder what a debate would look like between people and say, look, if you're going to refer to something, we're going to discuss. So the topic is going to be, does the evidence support this view, right? Or which view is better in light of the evidence, whatever. Okay, if you're going to bring evidence to that discussion, then you have to disclose to the other person. Like, for example, if there are 4 research papers that are going to come up, you need to give the other person those papers. Right? Because how often does it happen? Do you remember in the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate? There was a point there where Ham was referring to something of Snelling's work, referring to finding wood chips or something in the quartz or granite or some fucking thing, and Bill Nye says, well, I don't know, it could be contamination, it could be they were in the wrong layer, and he just starts making guesses as to what this thing could be. Whereas Bill Nye, if he'd been given 60 seconds on Google, he would have known what story this was, and would have been able to say, "Oh yeah, no, this has been researched. This is what I." Mind you shouldn't do that with only 60 seconds research, but you know what I mean. Like it's a fairly well known thing. But
how do the wood chips get in the quartz?
Well, I don't know.
No,
you
didn't look. Okay,
it was special creation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was special creation.
It was put there to fool you. It was a test. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this was when I can remember the debate was. It was like a couple of years ago, and I don't really get geology, to be honest with you. And
geology is my weakest subject. I've always said that by far.
Yeah. I'm even trying to remember. Somebody had put up an article about it. I was trying to remember who it was, but somebody who's like into geology.
Well, the point being, though, Hogtie, I think you're getting that is that the debates should not be a game of gotcha. You should go into a debate trying to find the most ridiculous minutia to try to trick your opponent or trap him, right? That's not the point of a debate, because nobody's going to know minutia to that detail. That's not what it's about. And so, yeah, I mean, anything that I have in a debate, I will put to the moderator and say, this is the links I'll be using. I've done it before. Matter of fact, with the Wayne's debate, I said, these are my sources. Actually, it was, who was the moderator? It was Enlightened said, give me 10 sources that you're going to be using for reference or whatever it is. And I gave him all my sources, and then Wayne was supposed to do the same, and we look at each other's sources. There's no time. We're not trying to trick people in a debate. That's not how it works. But go ahead.
The gotcha thing is kind of fun in its own way. I don't think it's a good debate thing. I think it'd be again, we need good variety in our debate. So I'm just saying it'd be interesting to have one debate where people actually had to share what they were going to talk about in the debate, and then go and debate those items that they had disclosed to each other. Not that I'm opposed to the gotcha thing, because it is kind of fun. Like, for example, if I was doing a debate with Ronnie, I would love to have that woodpecker thing come up, right? But if I would have had to disclose that ahead of time, it wouldn't have worked. Whereas because it came up just very naturally in a hangout, it went perfectly. Like, he initially never heard of this woodpecker tongue thing, and then when I told him what it was, he was like, oh yeah, oh no, that completely defeats evolution, and of course that's consistent with intelligent design, and and then when I told him it wasn't true, he's like, what? Like,
they walk right into this shit, right?
And Tommy, was it Tommy Hall? Followed him in. No, MG. That was MG 42 pillbox. Just jumped in the hole after him. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing when they like. You even as a joke, you're like, oh yeah, let's get, so according to this article here, blah blah blah, and it's like from the Onion, People like reading it. Yeah, that's right. It's like, no, it's from the Onion.
Yeah. Well, Veckel seems to have been doing that less, or at least he's learned how to share only within his circle of credulous dimwits. But remember, he used to just post public. That would be like, oh yeah, here's this pastor in Vermont that has to get sentenced to jail for a year for not marrying a gay couple. It's like, did you see which paper that came from? It's the same paper that's advertising season 6 of Breaking Bad.
What? There's a season 6?
Well, if you read the same paper that announces this, yeah.
Don't tell me about it. No. There was. I wish they would have done more with that. I didn't really care for the Better Call Saul. I didn't finish it. I got halfway through the first season. I wasn't that interested. But Breaking Bad was so good.
Yeah. I haven't seen a single episode.
Are you serious?
Well, hold on now.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Circumstances.
There's no.
There are. I've seen every episode of Dexter. But just think about when Dexter came on. So our son would have been months old when Dexter was pretty much finished. So we watched all the we downloaded the episodes and watched those, and then basically he was not even talking. So he'd be taking he'd put the baby to bed, and then you could watch whatever crazy shit you want to on TV. So we made it through Dexter before it wrapped up. But think about how old my kids were at Breaking Bad. You're constantly chasing them around, and they're constantly around. And then by the time it's like, oh, yeah, well, the kids are in bed now. What do you want to watch? Well, I just
go back and watch it. It is so good. And I can't say which one I like better.
I got to wait till my kids go to college.
I guarantee. I guarantee it. Dexter went to shit the last season, and obviously the finale sucked. We all know that. Yeah. It was just they sucked. But Breaking Bad seriously was a good show. It's not really that, I mean, not that bad, I guess. Not as bad as Dexter was as far as being family oriented, but I mean, yeah, he's a meth dealer and there's some violence. But it's worth watching if you can sneak away, though.
You ever watch that?
What's that?
You ever watch that Dinosaur Train where that, I think it's a baby T-Rex gets adopted by the Pteranodons?
Can't say that I have.
Oh, okay. See,
okay, Hawkeye. That's a real left hook there from Breaking Bad.
Dinosaur Train.
Dinosaur Train. Wait, was that a story about the?
Steve, it's a show you've probably never watched.
Sokka's got the melody right. That's the awesome part of this conversation.
Is it something about Garden of Eden? Yeah. Is it a Kent Hovind type production?
No, it's a kids show.
Yeah, and they take the
dinosaurs have a time traveling train.
I'm watching iZombie right now, season 2.
Yeah. Okay, Sokka,
they travel around and do stuff.
Yeah. Sokka, have you seen Breaking Bad?
No.
Was that a yep?
No, I watched. I don't watch a lot of TV outside of kids shows, but I was able to get into Breaking Bad and Dexter. I watched both of those.
Oh yeah, no, my son loves it. The 7-year-old, he's like right into Breaking Bad.
Did you watch Breaking Bad? Did you like it?
I love Breaking Bad.
I did.
And I watch Better Call Saul now, as well.
I can't get into it. I'll try again maybe one of these days. Did anybody else like Breaking Bad, or just you and I? Because I thought it was one of the best shows on TV.
I've seen a few episodes, but I haven't seen the whole thing. You
have to watch it. Yeah, you have to watch it contiguously, or it doesn't make sense. You really can't just jump around to Breaking Bad.
Well, here's the thing with Breaking Bad. This is what I love about Breaking Bad, is that if there's one thing to take away from that show, it's their concepts of morality. That's the most interesting thing.
They don't have any. They have no moral.
Well, no, they do. They do. Okay,
they have a code.
So first off, I mean, if you take a look at like the main two characters, Jesse and White. Yeah, mm-hmm. Walter White. That's it. Yeah. You have Jesse, who starts off as this complete, amoral person. Complete I do what I want, whatever. I'm getting by. Fuck you. Who cares? Screw the system. Screw the man. All that other shit. And you have White, who's a very strict. I have morals. I have codes. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this under very certain criteria. you see that very quickly, the character that you think, like the young punk that has no morals, he starts, he gets to his threshold right away, where it's just like, I can't go beyond this, man. I can't do this. Well, you have, Walter White, who just bends it every single time, but he never feels like he's the bad guy. And that's the interesting thing, is it doesn't matter how far down the rabbit hole he goes. Doesn't matter what he does, what crimes he breaks, what laws he breaks. He always has a way to justify it somehow in the end.
Yeah, and watching him start off the way he does to where he ends up. I mean, it's a journey, but it's a journey that you can actually look at and go, yeah, you know what? I can actually see that happening to somebody. It wasn't like it was. It wasn't something that was impossible. It was like, here's a journey of a guy who went from, like you said, the clean cut kind of a mild manner teacher to a drug kingpin, vicious one at that.
But here's like one of the coolest things about that show is that I think, especially by the time that you get to the last season, I don't think there's a lot of people that were rooting for him to come out on top. Like by that point in time, with some of the stuff that he's done, some of the things he's done in him trying to justify it, I think that a lot of people like realize that he's just not a good person, not a good person, and you kind of don't want him to win anymore, but you want to see how it plays out. It's really weird to be like, I wouldn't even put him as an anti-hero, because he's not.
No, he is not.
He's the bad guy. He is the bad guy of the show. Like, this show builds up to you, rooting for the bad guy, and but the character development in that show between like his brother, his brother-in-law, his development through that show is amazing. The villains, that show, like Gustav or whatever his name is.
Gustav, he's badass.
Oh, just amazing.
Good actor.
Like there's just the character development. The characters in that show are just they just suck you in, and it's
watching Hogtie, trust me. Just gotta give too much away, because eventually he'll watch it. We haven't given any what we just said. You can read in a TV guide about what the series is about. So we haven't given anything away. But who makes a good anti-hero? Anti-hero, Sokka? Ever watched Lucifer?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I don't watch a lot of TV.
It's a brilliant example of a really good anti-hero. I love that show.
Yeah. And so
the live feed, by the way, the live feed are all like, yeah, Breaking Bad's awesome. So
the other thing with Breaking Bad that is one of the few shows that I do watch or did watch, but it was also one of the few shows where there was a time when I'd either be working later, or I had my son at the time, and he was probably my oldest was maybe 2 or 3, and I taped Dexter and Breaking Bad, and I'd watch them in the same night because they were always on the same night. And I always watched Breaking Bad first because it was my favorite. And it got to the point sometimes where, especially in the later seasons of Breaking Bad, where you'd finish an episode and I would be emotionally drained. Like, like the roller coaster. Like, I wouldn't be like sad or upset or, box of tissues on the couch or anything like that, but it would be like, what the fuck just happened? Holy shit. And then I'd be looking to gear up Dexter and start going, I'm like, I can't even watch this right now. I can't, because I have to sit here and digest what I just saw. Like, you can't
process it, right?
Yeah, like you can't binge watch it. I mean, you can.
Oh, I did. I binge watched it. And I enjoyed
you have to, every once in a while, you have to stop and just think about what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, I took about a week to binge watch it, but I couldn't get enough. I was like, I gotta see the next episode. What the fuck did I just watch?
Well, I watched that show when it was like, when I, before it was on Netflix and stuff. I had to wait a week in between my episodes,
But I think the third season, I think that was one of my favorites. That was with the Gustav, the chicken thing, all that. That was just that was intense.
Yeah, no, it was.
Sorry, we're having a moment, guys.
No, it was an absolutely amazing show, and the characters again. I can't stress the characters. Saul is like the best character. Like, one of my favorite lines is like the first time, like when they're concerned about getting caught, so they have to go find a lawyer, and there's like, okay, well, we gotta get ourselves a criminal lawyer, and Jesse's is like, no. Here, we need a criminal lawyer.
Yeah. Better Call Saul. I think he really made that show quite a bit better.
Yeah.
Like I said, I couldn't make it through Better Call Saul, but on that particular, because that's a prequel, right? So
yeah,
he hadn't done all that stuff with Walter White yet on the Better Call Saul, and I think the experiences he had with Walter White made him a totally different person. Good, bad, or indifferent. It affected him because he went through shit.
That's another character that developed. Like, he reached his moral threshold as well, and I think that was the interesting thing. Like, they pushed the characters they put every single character got pushed to a moral threshold, and it was like okay, when are they going to snap? When are they going to snap? And like, there it is.
There's always a point where they said, okay, fuck.
The one thing that I didn't like about Breaking Bad was I hated Skylar so much. Like, she's just a nag. I did not like her.
His wife?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was more his wife's sister. I couldn't really get into.
Oh, she was just fucked too.
Yeah. But her wife, his sister's wife's husband, the DEA guy, he was cool.
Yeah, I really liked his development.
Make sure nobody's Hawkeye. Don't listen to this part. You sure you're not listening?
No, don't spoil anything.
I guess I'm trying to say what there's this. Okay, I almost went a minute. There's a certain part where there's a look on his face that's priceless. You know what I'm referring to? When he's just all of a sudden, his brain just goes into overdrive, and that look on his face was like, oh my god, that was brilliant acting. Brilliant acting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you felt for him. You're like, oh my god,
One of the really cool things about Breaking Bad was that there is, if you watch the whole thing, there is not a single episode, with the exception of one, leaves on a cliffhanger. And we're just like, oh fuck, we gotta wait till next week to find out what happens. It only happens once.
Yeah, there's not too many cliffhangers, but it's a story progression, so you still want to see what happens, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You get when you talk about when I talk about being emotionally drained, that's it, because it's resolved. Like, something it will happen at the end of the episode, because what happens, like, when a show goes on and be like, oh, what's going to happen next episode? Okay, somebody's going to die. We know somebody's going to die, but who was it? Oh fuck, And then the problem is the next episode starts and it happens within the first 5 minutes. By the time you get to the end of the episode, you've already kind of moved on. Yeah. But there, like, everything, it builds up to a point, bam, climax is right there at the end. And you're like, fuck, holy shit, can't believe that just happened. And then next week, just like, fuck, let's see how they start off from here again. And Breaking Bad only ever did that once. There was one episode they did that, and I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Was it almost like a two-parter?
Yeah. So like that was a really clever way that they did it. And the other thing that I really liked about it was the guy that wrote the show, like the main writer behind it. The entire 5-season duration or 5-year duration they did that, he didn't go on the internet once, didn't go on any fan sites, didn't do anything like that. He had an idea of how this was going to go out.
He didn't want to, and
he didn't want to be reading something and be like, oh man, these people really like this character, maybe I should have him stick around, or this season was a little bit slower pace, so maybe I have to throw in some more shit next season or something like that. He didn't let anything influence how the story was playing out.
No, I thought the series was start off brilliantly and ended brilliantly. I think the entire thing was very well done from start to finish. I mean, I have my own personal seasons I like the best, of course. I mean, you can't like every season equally, but I mean, I think the writing was just superb all the way through. And I like the fact they kept bringing it back to the very first episode a lot of times. I mean, that first episode was just awesome, and it kept bringing it back to that an awful lot, more so than what you think it would have, but it all stemmed around that very first episode kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, this should gear. I mean, bring Hogtie back into this. Hogtie, you watched Dexter though, right? You said.
Yeah, it was big. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, here's a question. Wait, did you like the season, the finale? Because I thought it sucked.
It was okay. How are they going to end it? So yeah,
I would have done things a lot differently.
So here's the thing: is I watched Dexter the entire time that it was on TV. I never watched the season finale, the series finale, the last one. I haven't watched it yet because somebody kind of spoiled it for me already. There was a lot of negative feedback. I couldn't hide from it. Like people were talking about it, and I didn't want to see it. It's just like, it's like closure, like that I just don't want.
You ruined the whole thing. I had a perfect ending in mind that I thought they were going to do, and I was like, this is the perfect way to end this. And they decided to go in a different direction. And whoever made that executive decision literally destroyed that franchise.
But like the other thing with the Dexter I found was that it wasn't consistent. Is that if you take a look at the way that the show appears, the pace, like the first season was about he was hunting a serial killer. The second season he had an apprentice. The next season he's hunting a serial killer. The next season he's working with somebody again, kind of has an apprentice, and it kind of went back and forth in this a little bit. And I found that the best seasons were the ones where he was hunting somebody, where there was Colin Hanks or John Lithgow. Like those were the best fucking seasons. Mm-hmm. The ones where he was working with somebody. Like I think Julia Stiles was one, and then that the big Latino guy was another one. Those seasons, they were never as good. They sucked because it took Dexter out of his element. It wasn't the same type of thing. He's a solo kind of guy. To see him working with somebody, just it didn't feel right.
What about the romantic relationships?
See, I thought that's how it should have ended. I thought he should have rode off in the sunset with that last chick that he was with, and that maybe the sun was going down and there's like a shadow upon her, and that would be his new dark passenger, right? The dark passengers that he had that needed to kill somebody was replaced by love. He found a new passenger to go through life with. They could have some kind of symbology like that, but no, they had to fuck it all to hell.
His first wife, his wife there, during the John Lithgow arc, I like that. I like the way that it ended.
Really?
I thought it was really dark. It was really
dark.
Dexterish.
Yeah.
And
fair enough, but it was dark.
But then, they could have gone in a direction with that. But I think that was when it started kind of fall off a little bit for me. It's a shame is that I thought it was coming back around in the last season. The last season was going really good, but from what I hear from the finale, just did not end right because that trap, for people that haven't watched Dexter, he is a blood splatter analysis. He works at a police station. His sister's a cop. He's right around all the people that are investigating his crimes. And
he's a homicidal serial killer.
Yeah, and he's a homicidal serial
killer. But he has some morals. He's not
because
a cannibal, right?
Because Papa trained him well.
Yeah, Papa trained him. Give him code.
But it was the last season. The tension was really good. I really liked that when everything's kind of closing in on him, and the way they ended the way they did was just bleh, whatever.
Yeah, well, they didn't recover for that. They literally destroyed the franchise.
Yeah, the moral thing was interesting because you didn't. I mean, it's hard because he was kind of a sympathetic character, but you really weren't supposed to sympathize with him, but you have to, otherwise people don't like following the show.
He was a villain.
I think part of the premise was the code itself wasn't moral. It was very, very practical, right? Because he needed to kill. And the only way that he'd be able to continue killing was if he stayed out of jail. So the code was in part, he followed it in part because it was the thing that kept him out of jail. Right? It wasn't because he was choosing between right and wrong.
I think there's a point, but I think he did have some ability to distinguish between right and wrong. I mean, he would, like I said, he look how adamantly he went against those people that were doing the cannibalism stuff, right? So he knew that was wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, so What the two, like I already named them, the John Lithgow and Colin Hanks, were both absolutely amazing in that show. Like Colin Hanks, his little story arc was just creepy as fuck. And because I mean, this is Tom Hanks's kid. Cut looks like a little mini Tom Hanks, you know, and was just evil as fuck. I loved it. And John Lithgow again, like
John Lithgow was great,
yeah, everything that like, I know John Lithgow from Third Rock from the Sun, you know, like the kooky dad, you know, kind of the funny type of thing. You know, when you see him play, like
he was dark.
Yeah, when you see him, like as just like, you know, like just.
But he was so good at it, wasn't he?
Yeah, how demented his characters and how well he played it. Like, but you know, it's so weird when they do the casting of these characters like that. Like even going back to Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston as Walter White, the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. Like, fuck.
Nobody thought he could pull that off, and yet he far surpassed. Well, he was a classically trained actor. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He is a really well-known actor long before even Malcolm in the Middle. But this really showed his versatility and his skill, his method.
You guys must be old enough to remember Dr. Lizardo.
You bet your ass I do. Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai in the Seventh Dimension, or the
Eighth Dimension. Yeah,
come on, everybody knows that shit. Absolutely, good shit.
What a great film! Just a masterpiece.
Yeah, we're having people in the live feed go. Are they having nostalgia moments? Yeah, we are. Yeah, that was good shit back then.
John Big Booty.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah. Look at that cowboy. Remember that guy?
Oh, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum, yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody in the live has not seen this kind of stuff, they don't know what the hell they're missing. This was classic stuff. It's so funny that a lot of us kind of all have the same, when it comes to this kind of stuff, all have the same likes and dislikes to some degree. We appreciate good satire or good, writing. I don't think a lot of the Clown Car Posse would appreciate the really satirical writing and the comedy style that went into some of these types of shows we used to watch, or just the depth of the shows themselves. Like you were mentioning, the morality of going into Breaking Bad, how these people were pushed to their breaking point and just slightly pushed over to see what they would do, kind of thing. I don't think they can analyze anything like that, to be honest with you.
You know, it's weird because like you started looking at shows in a different way. Maybe when you get older, I don't know. But like I watch Walking Dead. I love zombie flicks.
I haven't watched last season. Well, last 2 seasons I think it skipped. So,
but like Walking Dead's great but I don't think of it. I don't watch it as a zombie show. I look at it as a mockumentary of sociological the dilemmas that people face in a post-apocalyptic world, and it's just like, this is interesting. What would I do? Like
the third season of Walking Dead, I never recovered from. I don't think the barn scene.
Oh yeah,
I don't think I ever recovered for that. I was like, wow, they have gone to an extremely dark place, and then it gets worse and worse. So I didn't watch the last 2 seasons. I will binge watch it one of these days and finish it because I do like The Walking Dead. But that barn scene it fucked with me. I was like, wow, that's damn. They will stop at nothing to get a shock and awe from an audience. You know the part I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it because somebody hasn't seen season 3 yet.
I don't know. It's like 5 years old now. I mean, it's like,
yeah, whatever. I don't know. But if you haven't seen I Zombie yet, watch that. It's really cute.
My wife likes it. I haven't really.
I didn't realize it the other day that the lead actress, she's Tinkerbell from Once Upon a Time. Another one of my favorite shows. Really, really good show, Once Upon a Time. Dyslexia Jones says, how come zombies don't eat each other? Well, that's a silly, zombies need live human brains. We all know that. Yeah, Paul says barn so tamed with it compared to what they've done now. Yeah, no shit. That's what I was saying. It was all downhill after that. Then the hospital scene. You know, the person who died in that hospital scene. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. That was fucked up because she was my favorite character.
She was. I really liked her.
Oh yeah, once she died, I was like, I don't think I even want to watch this show anymore. That just was. I'm done. Fuck this. She was totally my favorite character. You do get attached to them. You're like, you don't want to see them die off, and they're like, oh, they're gonna kill my character off. Oh well, guys. Want to save it for another day? Getting kind of late here. After midnight.
Yeah, I guess. I probably should go to bed soon. I have that silly work thing tomorrow.
Well, I do appreciate you guys coming by tonight. Paul asked, did we talk about the CCP at the start of this? Yeah, we talked about the insanity that ensued a Gman's hangout when Mr. Intelligent Design went over there, and all of them were like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This makes great sense. And then toward the end of his presentation, like, yeah, we have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You know? So yeah, Tyler's like, he stopped watching when they found the priest in the Banner tree. I remember that too. Yeah. Steve Saka. Oh, the priest in the church. I didn't like that episode. I didn't like those episodes. Yeah, I didn't think that was the high point of the show by any means. That priest in the church arc. That was kind of silly, actually. Did you guys ever see the thing that Darwin's Greatest Hits did though?
Which one? Oh, the Walking Dead thing. The
Walking Dead debate. Yeah, if anybody who hasn't seen it yet in the live feed, you should go check out Darwin's Greatest Hits. And there's a thing he did for the Great Debate community, and it's based upon The Walking Dead, and it's freaking amazingly good.
And I guess I'll start plugging it now. This Thursday, I'm going to be having a discussion with Chris Mowdy on his channel. Music and nostalgia. A little bit off the usual topics around here, but yeah, if anybody wants to check that out, I'll probably put up a message or something for that shortly.
What day is that?
Probably sometime tomorrow.
What's that?
I've got it kind of penciled in right now. Yeah, me and Chris Mowdy talking about music and nostalgia.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, Mr. Intelligent Design has found a new home amongst the embrace of the CCP. Trevor Lund says, "Yep." So God bless him, Edgar. My, you know what? I'll miss you, brother, but you found a home over there, and I hope they keep you warm and safe at night. And you know, they don't make you the little spoon. That's all I got to say. So I'm going to call it a night.